Someone make it make sense.
Probably a couple.
Hello, beautiful squirrel friends. Boy, have I missed y'all. I'm sorry it's been so long since the last stream. I have been sick and had a really super sore throat, didn't really have a voice, and finally just started feeling better today and got my voice working and everything. And I can talk, I can sing, I can squirrel around. Woo, squirrel power. So yeah, sorry there was a bit of a lapse there. Of course, you may have seen that in the interim. I guess it was yesterday, was it? Or day before? Donna filed her motion for a new trial, which we will, of course, get to. We're about to wrap up this trial here. Hopefully today, make it through days 7 and 8. On the next stream, we'll do the closing arguments, the verdict, and then we'll make our way through the juror interviews and, of course, this motion for a new trial, which I expect will be summarily declined by Judge Everett, or denied rather. It's up in the air whether or not the state will even bother to file a response. So, but it is interesting because their big thing that they're kind of going after is the jury. And it's so ironic because, you know, again, we'll watch these jury interviews or juror interviews. And I mean, honestly, you couldn't have asked for a more fair, impartial jury. Even to the extent that sometimes it's like, wow, like they took it, like, especially who was it? That one juror, I think it was juror number 6. Sometimes I was like, wow, he's taking it even further than I think you would even hope for if you're the defense in terms of the fairness level. So anyway, interesting that I couldn't believe it when they said they wanted to interview the jurors and da da da. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, that's absolute insanity. But anyway, here we are with the very beginning of the defendant's case in chief. And we talked about last time how beautifully linear the state's presentation was during their case in chief and the way they laid everything out. And at the very end, right, just to sort of recap, they finished their case in chief with recalling Chris Corbett and went through all the Vietnam business. And part of like one of the very last snippets was Donna texting none other than Ann Cunningham, this lady right here. So they finished their case in chief with Donna texting Ann Cunningham, like, Wendy's not going to help us out. I need you to do this and that. And like, she's like, I'll do anything. I'm always here for you, da da da. And then day 7 starts off with none other than Ann Cunningham. If I had been her defense, well, there's a number of things I would have done differently, but one of them is I would not have started with this witness, given how fresh in the jurors' minds it would be that this was what finished out the state's case in chief. Like, it literally continues the linear timeline of where the state left off. Like, wild. I would have definitely wanted to call other witnesses, maybe bring in the divorce people and then circle back to the friends so that at least there's something else in there to break it up, because this linear timeline is one of the things I think was so strong for the state, especially in this particular trial. I think this was their strongest trial yet, in my opinion. And you know, they were killing it with the demonstrative aids and the PowerPoint presentations. Is just so on point. So they really stepped up their game. Can't wait to see what they do for Fivel. Speaking of which, we do have a great Fivel video. I as I was sick and I couldn't stream, I did edit a Fivel video. We're going to talk about that because I've seen that Wendi interview a bazillion times, as you guys know, and we've watched it live, I think at least three times through, and we're going to do it again anyway when we get done with Donna's trial, because there's so much more now to look at. But even though I've seen it so many times, as I was putting these clips together for that video, I noticed something new that I was like, this is earth shattering. And I don't think that, I mean, I hadn't noticed it before. I don't know that anyone's talked about it, but it is potentially one of the most damning things that Wendi says as she sits there self-snitching during that interview. And it's wild. So we're going to talk about that as well. when we find a good point to bring up. Maybe when we get to the divorce people, that'll be a good time to pull up that video. And some of you guys may have already seen it, but I had a couple things. It's not long, but I had a couple things, again, like I just mentioned, but some other things I wanted to point out that I hadn't really noticed before as I was editing that. So welcome everybody who's here. Shout out to Kat Randall, shout out to Cece, shout out to Happy Annie. So happy to see you lurking from work. Love it. Love the rhyming as well. Donna is Delulu. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. So happy to see all you guys. And I did already send Twiz his special text. I know he's into the, I didn't really know this, but he's like into the sports ball. Like, I guess it's football right now. And he's been watching football games. I don't know if there's a football game on right now or if he's watching a football game, but just so you guys can give him a hard time if you feel so inclined that he's into the football. And the only thing I know of football, as you guys well know, is the Gamecocks. So go Gamecocks. Woo! All right. Let's go. Ann Cunningham. Here we go. I have to say, though, her shirt is awesome. I do love the shirt. I love the high collar. Nice choice with the shirt.
Just pull that microphone a little over closer to you. There you go.
Okay.
Make sure you speak into it. So everyone can
Yes, ma'am.
Also, I have to say, a nice choice on her like lipstick or lip gloss or whatever she's got going on.
If you could tell us your name and then spell it for the court reporter.
My name is Ann Elizabeth Cunningham, ANNE ELIZABETH, Cunningham, CUNNINGHAM.
Thank you. Ms. Cunningham, you're aware why we're here today, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So.
Where, I don't want your address, but where do you live?
I live in Naples, Florida,
Okay.
and New Jersey.
Okay. So you spend some time in New Jersey during the year and some time in the state of Florida.
That is correct.
All right. And tell us, what did you do? Are you retired?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And what did you do for your career?
I was a teacher, special education teacher.
Okay. Do you know Donna Adelson?
Yes, I do.
And how long have you known Ms. Adelson?
Since 2009.
Okay. And how is it that the two of you met?
Excuse me.
How did you meet?
We met when my life partner and I drove to Florida and arrived on Christmas Eve, and the only place that was open was a Chinese restaurant, and he bit into a spare rib and cracked his tooth.
Okay.
So he actually went to high school with
Great.
Harvey, and Harvey was a practicing dentist at the time.
Okay. And what is his name?
Ronald Gutterson.
Okay. And so he cracked his tooth, and what happened?
And he called a mutual friend from high school also and said, who do we know in South Florida who can help me? And our friend mentioned Harvey's name, and we called him, and he came in the next day to treat Ronnie.
Okay. And when you said they went to high school together, that wasn't in Florida, right?
No, it was in Manhattan, New York.
Okay. All right. Very good. So
What are the freaking odds, though, right? That, like, okay, you've got in high school together in Manhattan, you've got her life partner, you've got Harvey, and then you've got the mutual friend. So they all go to high school together in Manhattan. And then you've got her and her life partner living in Jersey. What are the odds that they're in South Florida? And it's like, oh, we're here, and so is Harvey. Like, how is it that everybody's ending up in the same place? It's pretty wild, pretty wild. Hi, Amanda, welcome on in. Happy to see you, my friend.
he was able to take care of Ron?
Yes, he made a special trip. It was Christmas Day to come in and care for him.
Okay. And then how did that lead to you meeting Mrs. Adelson?
When Ron returned, he said that he had re-met a former high school classmate of his,
Wild.
and that he was a very lovely man, and that he thought it would be very nice if maybe we had dinner together with his wife.
And did you do that?
We did.
Okay. And from there, did you develop a strong friendship?
We did. We all got along very well and developed a friendship.
Okay.
You know what's funny? I knew someone in college who was a music major. I think she was a flute player, and we weren't like best friends or anything, but like I knew her. And she went on a trip between one of the, between like sophomore and junior year or something like that. She went on a summer trip to China. And she told this crazy story, just reminds me of where she was on the Great Wall of China. I've never been to China, but she was on the Great Wall of China. There's like tons of people, right? And like is talking to somebody and like somehow starts up a conversation with like the person who's standing right next to her. And turns out it was like her next door neighbor all throughout growing up, like for years or whatever, like from elementary school, middle school. It was like her next door neighbor happened to be standing there next to her on the Great Wall of China, but yet they never bumped into each other in the States once they moved and grew up and whatever. Pretty crazy, right? Right. Reminds me a little bit of that. Small world sometimes. Yeah, they all winter in Miami. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Nightbot is here. We love Nightbot.
And when you spent your time in Florida, was that Naples at that point?
No, it was in Southeast Florida,
Okay.
Aventura.
All right. And was that closer to where the Adelsons were living at that time?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So did you spend quite a bit of time together?
We did.
Okay. Socializing?
We did.
Did you travel together at all?
Quite often.
Okay. So you had a lot of contact over the years.
Very much so.
Okay. Did you have the opportunity to speak to her on the telephone when you were away in New Jersey?
Absolutely.
Okay. Would you say you had regular contact throughout?
Regular contact.
Okay. I'm going to tell you, this nice young lady over here, she's typing every word that we're saying. And I have a bad habit of talking over people, and she will shoot me if I do that. So I'm going to
And I
try.
have a bad habit.
WTF though on that? Like, I mean, in a lot of ways. First of all, counsel's just testifying. Second of all, they weren't having an issue with this. We've seen this before. It happens a lot of times on cross exams, right? Where they're talking that like this was not a problem. This was not a problem. So she like stops her line of questioning. Like if you're going to just say this and just say it, even if it's not an issue, say it at the beginning of the testimony. But she starts her line of questioning, get into the testimony, counsel's testifying, saying all this bit about the court reporter, talking over, even though that's not even happening. But to top it all off, to say that she's going to shoot her, of all things, I mean, again, I keep thinking of questions I would ask if I ever were interviewing any of these jurors. Not that that would ever happen, but I've made like a list over these different live streams of like questions I would ask that no one's asked them. One of the questions I would ask is, did anybody in the jury pick up on that? The bit about the court reporter shooting, because it's just, why? There's so anyway. You did like Jackie didn't need to say this, but if she was going to say this, she should have just said it at the get-go, at the outset of testimony, before testimony got started. And you could have phrased that in a million different other ways that are not horribly inappropriate and offensive, given it's a murder trial where the victim was shot to death. So
Speaking quickly.
So you and I are going to need to make sure we wait until the other person finishes.
Oh,
before
really?
we start
I
to
must have
speak,
missed
okay.
that.
So you had regular phone contact with Mrs. Adelson while you were in New Jersey each year?
Yes.
And then spending time together while you were in Florida?
Yes.
And you said it started out in Aventura, Florida, and that was close to where she lived. At some point, you got your home then in Naples? Is that
That's
right?
correct.
Okay. But still continue to spend time with the Adelsons?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to meet her children?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I met two of her children.
And who were they?
I met Wendi
Okay.
and I met Charlie.
Okay.
I'm
Did
sorry,
you have
I
an opportunity with the Adelsons to spend time with Wendi, her children, and Danny?
Yes.
Okay. And you never met Rob?
No.
Okay. All right. How would you best describe Donna Adelson and what you've come to know of her over these many years?
Objection, relevance, and 404, Your Honor.
Sustained.
May we approach?
You may.
Thank you.
So 404, because they're trying to get character evidence. And I mean, that's like the whole point here of what they're trying to do. But let's just refresh everyone's memories as they approach on this. All right. So character evidence. Let's take a look. Where is it? Okay, 404. So we're really well familiar with, you got the 404A, 404B. So the character evidence. All right. So the character evidence is your 404A, right? 404B is your prior bad acts. So the deal with the character evidence, right, is that it's prohibited. And so evidence of a person's character or character trait is not admissible to prove that on a particular occasion the person acted in accordance with the character or trait. And so this goes for both sides, right? Like, in other words, the state, it couldn't, for example, show that Donna has a character that tends to be murdery, right? Just like the defense can't say, oh, Donna has a character of being amazing, right? Now, the exception that is notable is when it comes to self-defense cases. And any of you guys who watched our coverage of the Ezra McCandless trial, that was a really great example there, because actually, I'll just read the rule here. So following exceptions apply in a criminal case. The defendant may offer evidence of the defendant's pertinent trait, and if the evidence is admitted, the prosecutor may offer evidence to rebut it. So if they're going to get into too much character evidence here about Donna, then the prosecution can rebut it, and that's a slippery slope. Does Donna really want to go there? And then also, a defendant may offer evidence of an alleged victim's pertinent trait, and if the evidence is admitted, the prosecutor may offer evidence to rebut it and offer evidence of the defendant's same trait. And then, so that's applicable for the Ezra McCandless trial, because again, it was a self-defense trial. So the defense in that case tried to show that the victim had a propensity to be dangerous and whatever, even though that was complete and utter BS. but they were going down that road. And so then, of course, the state could offer the evidence to rebut that with, hey, no, he was actually not. And in fact, the defendant was the one who was murdering. And then we also have subsection C in a homicide case. The prosecutor may offer evidence of the alleged victim's trait of peacefulness to rebut evidence that the victim was the first aggressor. Again, that applies only in those self-defense cases. The Ezra McCann's trial was just a really great example of that. And there was a lot of really great discussion, like outside the presence of the jury, where they really break down the nitty gritty of how that works. So we've got some more girlfriends who've just joined us. Shout out to Kitsmits, shout out to Iowa, and shout out to Northwest. So happy to see all of you guys. All right, so they're approaching. So we're gonna jump on ahead. We'll see if they continue down this line of questioning. Harvey.
Objection is overruled on 404 grounds. As to the relevance, let's move to that, Ms. Wolford.
Thank you, Judge. With respect to Mrs. Adelson and your observation.
Okay. So Georgia first objected on 404 grounds, right? The 404A, like we were saying, the character evidence. But now he said that's overruled. So they've decided they wanted to proceed with that. So then Georgia at sidebar said, well, we also want to object on 403, which is relevance. So now he's like, okay, so now Jackie, how is this relevant? Okay.
Of her over these, I guess, 15 years. Have you found her to be a hateful person?
Never.
Is she
I mean, how can she sit there and say that, though, honestly?
aggressive towards others?
Never.
Have you ever heard her threaten anyone?
Never.
Have you ever seen her harm anyone?
Never.
Have you ever heard her threaten to have somebody harmed?
No.
Did she ever make statements to you? Well, let me ask you this first. You were friends with her, obviously, when Wendi was going through her divorce.
Yes.
During that time period, through the divorce, and up to the time that Danny Markell was killed, you're aware that he was murdered?
Yes, I am.
Okay. At any time during that period, did she ever say she wanted to have Danny Markell killed?
Never.
Ever say she wanted him to be harmed?
Never.
She got upset, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And how is it that she displayed her anger over that situation?
She would be frustrated, and then she would calm down, and she told me that she...
Sustained.
Okay, you can't say what she said.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But during that time period, did she ever do anything other than vent to you about it?
Never.
Did she ever claim she was going to do anything about
Never.
it? Okay. Would you say that she is supportive of her children?
Very.
Okay. And she's Jewish. Are you as well?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Did you find her parenting consistent with the traditions of raising Jewish children?
Yes.
There's been some testimony that she kind of managed her kids' lives. Did she give them advice?
Yes.
Did the children, as they were adults, make up their own minds about what they wanted to do?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, you indicated that you would talk on the phone with Miss Adelson. Did you use home phones to do that during some of the period of time?
Pardon me, I'm sorry?
Home phones, like landlines?
Sometimes.
Okay. Did you use cell phones?
Many times.
Okay. Did you travel with Harvey and Donna Adelson?
Many times.
Okay. And as part of your travel, did you go overseas?
Yes.
And in your travel overseas, did you ever use any of the applications that you could put on your phone?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall which applications you all used?
WhatsApp and Viber.
And what was the purpose of using those?
Literally,
because-
I'd never heard of Viber until this trial. Had any of y'all ever heard of that?
You didn't get charged, for, and also to keep in communication. If we were on a cruise or on a land trip, where are you? When are we meeting? Because they were free.
Okay.
It was easy.
So while you were overseas, instead of having to pay increased rates on your cellular plan from the United States, you could use this app for free.
Yes.
Okay. Did you use those apps with Mrs. Adelson to hide any information from law enforcement, like encrypted, so that they wouldn't know what was going on?
No.
Okay. I want to talk to you. I'll lead you forward to the date that Danny Markell was murdered. That was July the 18th of 2014. Do you recall speaking to Mrs. Adelson on that date?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And can you explain to us how you were contacted and the nature of the conversation?
I was called, and Donna was quite hysterical.
Okay.
And she said to me, Danny's been shot.
Sustained. Do not speak to what anyone said out of court, ma'am.
Your Honor.
Please continue.
Maybe
It is
approach,
strict.
please.
Please approach.
So, y'all, I was actually just thinking, so Northwest got me thinking because of that shirt from Talbot's. So you can do a reverse image search. We've actually done this in the Casey Anthony trial one of the prosecutors was wearing this tie that was like the ugliest tie I've ever seen. And I actually like did a reverse image search on that tie and found that exact tie and like where it's sold and who makes it. And I was like, oh, I wonder if we can do this for Wendi and her stupid dress. Cause like, you know, she like wore that same dress for like several trials and whatnot. Well, in my doing that, I found something I hadn't seen before, which is a New York Times article from 2006 about Wendi and Dan's wedding. And it looks like they've got wedding pictures. So I'm just trying to, they're making me log in and make an account or whatever. Let me just see here. I don't know my password. But I want to be able to show you guys this because now they're making me check my email for a thing. This will be totally worth it. I'm going to keep getting this part done. Let me just skip ahead here as they approach. Because I was really surprised at the wedding picture I saw in the little snippet there. So. Okay.
Thank you, Judge. Before we talk about what she might have said to you, at the time that you spoke to Mrs. Adelson, was it the day that Danny was murdered?
When he was shot, yes.
Okay. And yeah, I use murdered because
Oh my
obviously
God.
he didn't pass away until the next day, but
Right.
Yes.
he was shot and barely surviving on the 18th. So that's when I refer to that. That's why I say that
Yes.
date. Okay. So when you spoke to her, did she call you or did you call her? Do you recall?
She called me.
Okay. And when she called you, did she appear to be upset?
Very.
Was she crying?
Yes.
Was her tone of voice, based on your knowledge of her for the 15 years, did she seem to be upset?
Very.
Okay. Did she seem to be at a point in time where she had just learned what had occurred?
Yes.
Did she indicate to you whether she had just learned that this had happened?
Yes.
Okay.
She did.
I'm sorry.
Yes, she did.
Okay. And during the course of your discussion with her about what had transpired, did she continue with this state of mind that she was upset?
Yes.
Okay. And while she was upset, what did she indicate to you?
She told me that Danny had been shot and that they were going to Tallahassee and that she was very concerned and worried about Wendi and the boys, whether they were in danger.
Okay.
Because
And
she did not know who had shot him.
okay. And did she indicate whether she was concerned about Danny and him being in the hospital?
Absolutely.
Okay. Did she indicate whether she had plans to go to see him at the hospital?
I don't recall.
Okay. During the time that you had this conversation with her, was this the only time that you spoke to her that evening?
I believe so. Maybe one more time.
Okay. And is it your understanding from later discussions with her that she and her husband Harvey actually did come to Tallahassee?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to speak with her later on while she was in Tallahassee?
Yes.
Okay. And did she provide any information to you about a memorial service that took place?
Yes.
Okay. And did she tell you what had transpired at the memorial service?
She told me it was incredibly sad and painful and wrenching.
Okay.
Right.
And at the time that she was telling you this, did she still was she still very upset about what had happened?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, question for y'all in the chat. Who's more believable or more credible? This friend of Donna's or the jailhouse informants?
I want to go forward just a little point in time. Did you continue to stay in contact with Mrs. Adelson and her husband from the time that Danny was murdered moving forward?
Yes.
Okay. And you were aware at some point that her son, Charlie Adelson, who you said you had met, was arrested
Yes, I was.
in the case. Okay. And did you keep up with the case against Charlie in social media or news or anything?
It was no. I really don't do so.
Okay, I got it, guys. I had to actually like subscribe and like a paying subscription to the New York Times, which I will cancel. Just because like, I mean, it's not like I'm ever reading the news. Anyway, it was only, I think it's only charging me $1 at the moment. So it is well worth it to be able to read this and to take a look at this with y'all. So, okay, you guys ready? Here we go. Let me pull my banner down. Did y'all know this existed? And like, how the heck did they get an article? Like how, like, wow, surprised. Let me see what y'all are saying in the chat here. Actually first. So it's like Elaine, no one cares. I know, right? Yep. She's like the Elaine 2.0. Right. Yeah, I never heard the rumors that she was in Italy. I just figured that her and Harvey were hunkered down watching the trial in their house, but she was at this house, which we are going to hear more about. Y'all are all saying the informant's hands down. Yep, couldn't agree more, guys. Totally. Welcome on in, Amelia. Long time no see. By the way, I don't think you were here on August 9th, but I think I had a live stream that day or the next day. And anyway, I did say happy anniversary to you and to Doug, and congrats on your 22 years. So in case you didn't hear it then, I'm letting you know now. Kit Smith is saying it's a tie. Oh, you've seen it Northwest. That doesn't surprise me. So, okay. So Wendi Jill Adelson. So here's the New York Times article in 2006. Wendi Jill Adelson, the daughter of Donna Sue Adelson and Dr. Harvey Adelson of Coral Springs, is to be married this evening to Dan Eric Markell, son of Ruth and Phil of Toronto. Rabbi Shaul Robinson is to officiate, and it's going to be in Boca Raton, Florida. The bride, 26, is keeping her name. Wow. It's funny how this resonates so differently now. Like, anyway, she's a third-year law student at the, then like what I mean is than it would have at the time, right? Like that wouldn't be like that odd, right? But given what we know with the name, the whole thing with the names, right? Like that, anyway, it's just different. She graduated magna cum laude, so they're talking about Fievel here. She got a master's degree in being a Fievel, at which she excelled. That's me adding that part in. She was a Gates Scholar. Her father has a dental practice, for which the bride's mother is the patient care coordinator. The bridegroom, 33, teaches criminal law at Florida State. So what's the age difference? Okay, interesting. So they were 7 years apart in age. He earned a master's in political theory at Cambridge before returning to Harvard, where he received his law degree. His mother owns R&M Enterprises in Toronto. Where's the picture though? It's supposed to have a picture because that's how I got here was the picture. Hold on. Let me show y'all what I mean. How I got here was this. Because I was looking at the different Fievel dresses, right? Because I was going to do a reverse image search for the dress Jules wears. And I saw this picture, right? And it has the wedding picture and it says here. And I was like, is that Wendi and Dan? Because I was like, doesn't really look like Dan from behind. But I was like, I wanted to get another look at Fievel's dress here. But apparently that image, weirdly, let me just try again, visit again. I mean, we just looked at this and there was no picture. So anyway, that's a bit annoying. Oh, a version of this article appears in print. Order reprints. Can I see reprints? Because does that have the dress? Oh my God. Okay. Anyway, well, there we go. I was hoping we'd get pictures. Apparently not. Maybe we can actually, let's see. Maybe we can actually just find that. Let's see. Those aren't her. Here's that same picture. Yeah, I'm curious what her dress looked like. Does anybody know? Has anyone found these? Oh, there's Peter Tragos, where you know. Yeah, how come there's not like this is? It seems like we should have pictures of this though, somewhere. Try opening it by clicking on just the image. I mean, when I click on the image, though, it takes me here. And then if I go to visit, it takes me to the article. If I click on the image again, yeah, it just takes me to the article. Oh, anyone can pay to get an announcement. In the New York Times, wow. Wow, well. There is a pic of her and Danny at the wedding. Interesting. I'll keep looking. Adelson Markell wedding. Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's try that. Maybe on Wendy's Facebook? No, she probably took those down. Wow, what a bummer. If y'all had to guess, what type of gown do you think she wore? Do you think it was a ball gown? Do you think it was something form-fitting? Do you think she went with lace? Do you think she went with satin? Do you think she went with tulle? Do you guys think she went strapless or sleeves? Did she wear a veil? I'm curious. If I had to guess, I would guess probably satin, something a little bit form-fitting, and either sleeveless or strapless. Probably if it had sleeves or sleeveless, I'm thinking at the shoulders with like a V-neck, and I'm thinking she probably had a long veil. I'm just trying to picture what she would wear when she's not wearing her Fievel outfit. That is, when she's not wearing this, which is her actual real outfit. But I'll keep looking and see what I can find. Where was his father? Okay, sorry, I didn't read the end of this. So yeah, so Ruth owns this business management consulting group. She's also an author, A Women's Guide to Moving Up in Business. And then Phil Markel is the president of Smart Outsourcing Services and Apparel, warehousing and distribution business, also in Toronto. Interesting. They're both amazing human beings. I'm sure you guys are well aware. You see what y'all are saying in the chat. Something atrocious, I'm sure. Sweetheart neckline, tiara, CC. Yes, there you go. You know what? You were spot on. I bet she did have a tiara. And I'm not actually, honestly, I'm not really familiar with like the what they would wear for like a Jewish ceremony, although we know that was a whole thing, right? Of like that they didn't really take it that seriously. So and I let's see, I've been to Jewish weddings. I'm trying to think. I feel like the brides wore regular dresses, and then yeah, they might have had like the different elements that they add on. I don't know how to pronounce them correctly. But that their dresses were like standard. Played violin in probably, I don't know, 1,000 weddings throughout my lifetime. So I've definitely done some Jewish weddings. Oh, it looks like a stock photo. Yeah. If anyone can find an actual picture from their wedding, definitely let me know and where you found it, and we will pull it up. But for now, then we will go back to the testimony, and I will cancel my subscription for the New York Times stuff. Okay.
Social media.
Okay.
And of course it was on the news.
Okay. Did you watch it on the news?
As little as possible.
Okay. There came a time that Charlie Adelson was on trial for the charges against him. Were you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. At that time period, in speaking to Mr. and Mrs. Adelson, was it brought to your attention that
Objection, hearsay.
Staying.
Mm-hmm.
at some point did you allow Mr. and Mrs. Adelson to stay in your home in Naples
Yes, I did.
for the purpose of watching the trial?
Yes.
Okay. And are you aware that they actually did stay there for a good portion of the trial?
Yes.
All right. And at some point, moving forward, did you become aware that Charlie Adelson was convicted of the offenses with which he was charged?
Yes.
Were you aware that, well, you knew their grandchildren, both of their grandchildren from Danny, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Were you aware that there was a bar mitzvah planned for the younger one in January of 2023? No, 2024.
Yes.
Okay. And did you actually attend that?
Yes.
Great. Where's your next
Did
question?
there come a point in time where after the verdict that you spoke to Mrs. Adelson about what in the world she was going to do?
Yes.
Okay. And did she discuss with you that she had planned?
Objection, hearsay.
The answer would call for hearsay. Do you have an exception to offer concerning this?
It's going to go to her state of mind, Judge.
You need to lay the foundation as to why this specifically would go to state of mind, Ms. Wilford.
Thank you. So could you explain to us the behavior, how Mrs. Adelson was acting at the time? Don't tell us what she said yet, but how was she portraying herself at that time? Was she upset?
Yes.
Okay. Did she, how did she express that to you, that she was upset? Not in words, just your observations, hearing her on the phone, etc.
She cried a lot.
Okay.
She was very concerned about Harvey,
Okay.
very concerned about Charlie,
Okay.
and just incredibly sad.
Okay. And during the time that she was sad and worried about Harvey and Charlie, now that he's going to prison for life, you knew
Yes,
that. Okay.
yes.
All right. So during that, when she's having these emotions, did she tell you that she was planning on
Please approach.
Okay. Welcome on in to those of you guys who are just now getting here. We're going to look into see if Wendi still has any of her social media active where she might have some pictures posted.
Witness, the bailiff will take you to the jury room.
Okay, so they're going to discuss this outside the jury's presence. Oh, they take a break. Okay.
Speaking to Mrs. Adelson?
Let me back it up here. The objection is sustained. All right.
Everyone can be seated. The objection is sustained. You may continue with your examination of this witness. That's any other matters.
Thank you. Mrs. Cunningham, we were talking about the fact that you were
I don't think she has Facebook anymore. I'm not seeing it.
speaking to Mrs. Adelson after the verdict came out about her son being convicted, correct?
Yes,
Was she upset about that?
yes,
Was she crying?
yes,
Was she, did she appear to be distraught about the circumstances?
yes.
Was her actions and her words to you when she was discussing this with you, was she in a calm state or an excited state?
It's very excited.
Okay. And during the course of her conversation with you in that state, did it become to your attention that Mrs. Adelson was considering an option about her life because all of this had just happened?
Yes,
Okay. And what was that?
she was considering taking her own life.
And if you know, and if you don't, just say you don't, but if you know from those same conversations with her in that state of mind that she had, did she ever discuss with you a potential plan to just get away to clear her head?
Yes,
Okay.
Y'all remember that song, I want to get away, I want to fly away. That's from like so many years ago. But that was Donna. She just wanted to get away, guys. That's all. Nothing to see here. Jackie, come on, get it together.
Just a moment.
You just had a moment. Oh, okay.
As a Jewish mother and grandmother, are the traditions of bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs, are those important to you all?
very important.
Okay. Based on your relationship with Mrs. Adelson, was the bar mitzvah that was upcoming for her younger grandson from Mr. Markel, was that something that she was participating in?
Yes,
Was she excited about attending?
very.
I don't have anything further.
Cross-examination.
Okay.
He could be buried in the bar mitzvah dress that she bought.
No, I'm not.
Yes.
If she was going to be buried in that dress, she probably wasn't, at least at the time she made that statement, going to be making it to the bar mitzvah. Would you agree?
No, she was always going to be making it to the bar mitzvah, as far as I knew.
Even if she was dead and buried, she was going to make it.
I never heard that.
Okay. Was she suicidal when you spoke with her after Charlie's verdict?
Yes,
Okay. You were best friends with her.
yes,
Okay. And she would call and vent to you about Danny Markel.
sometimes.
All right. And did she ever call him names?
Not to my knowledge, not to me.
Did she
This is
share?
great. So George is just dismantling this entire thing of like, oh, well, she never saw, well, like all the questions about, oh, well, she's so sweet and so this and that. And it's like, yeah, well, you never saw all the other shit. Like she had no idea about what was going on behind her back. You know, it's great.
You that she was planning to offer a bribe to Mr. Markel to facilitate relocation?
I don't recall.
Did she talk to you about plans to threaten or to convert the children to Christianity in order to strong arm Mr. Markel?
She mentioned that she had said that, and she said that was so foolish of me.
Okay, so I think we're about to get to the Hitler Nazi youth uniforms, which is great. But interesting, right? That was so foolish of me. Another question I would ask these jurors is, did they pick up on that, having just heard Donna's "you stupid fool," ha ha? That's something that Donna, she would use that word, and it's just, I mean, Anne didn't know, right, that this would be significant for people who are paying attention. I mean, had she known that, the whole "you stupid fool" thing, she maybe would have tried to choose a different word. I mean, she's just testifying honestly here. I believe that Donna said foolish. What about you guys?
When did she say that?
I don't know whether we were together or on a phone call. I'm not sure.
Did she ever tell you that she was being extorted in reference to Mr. Markel's murder?
Eventually, yes.
Okay. And when you say eventually, when did she tell you that?
We were on a trip to Japan together.
Okay. When was the trip to Japan?
We took so many trips. I'm not exactly sure of the year.
Was it between the murder and the first arrests?
I don't recall.
Okay. And when she told you that she was being extorted, then naturally you learned that she knew who had killed Dan Markel.
No,
Obviously, it's the people that are extorting her, right?
she didn't know what. Are you talking about? Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
She was forced to make payments to the people that killed
Yes,
Dan Markel.
yes.
That's what the checks were all about, right?
I don't know about the checks.
Well, when she told you she was being extorted, if it wasn't about the checks, how was she being extorted?
She was. I'm confusing that with the bump. I believe that Charlie was being extorted by Catherine.
Prior to the bump, you knew that Charlie was being extorted by Catherine.
No, I believe it was afterwards.
After the bump, you learned that Charlie was being
Right.
extorted by
Right.
Catherine.
I'm not sure of the timeline.
Oh my
And when
God.
you learned that Charlie was being extorted by
So she's like, no, it wasn't then. It wasn't then. And then when she asked the question where it's like, oh, so this is like obviously just a conjured up story. And like, oh, after this, she's like, oh, well, I'm not sure.
Catherine, you learned that your friend, your best friend, Donna Adelson, was also being forced to write these checks as payment to the killers that were extorting.
I don't recall.
And when the phone call was made to you, you were saying, I guess it was the night of the verdict, you got the phone call and she was very upset and suicidal and so forth. What was your phone number at that time?
I believe my cell number,
Okay, what's your cell number? Just give me the last 4 digits. If you want.
1655.
And did you watch the trial of Charlie Adelson?
At the very end.
Okay, and during the trial of Charlie Adelson, were you in regular communication with your best friend, Donna Adelson?
Yes, but we didn't really discuss the trial.
Well, would it refresh your recollection?
So she's staying with you because of all the publicity surrounding the trial that is going on, that at least Donna and Harvey are watching. She says she doesn't see it until the end, but I mean, but you didn't discuss the trial. Like, it's just not plausible at all. Not plausible.
And to review your text messages during the trial?
Yes, it's a long time ago.
An approach.
Oh, right. She was in New Jersey. Thank you for that. North Jersey.
I'm going to just draw your attention to the
Awesome. Can you
you here, but
Sure.
free to look at as many as you need to.
Oh, yes, this part I do recall.
That's the same message.
Can you Discord them to me, Amanda? Because like, if you text it, I don't think I can get it on my computer. Well, actually, let me think. Actually, no. Can you text me the pictures, and then I will get them on my computer? I think I have a way I can do that. Actually, yeah, I can. You can text me that. Well done on that, Amanda.
She was watching the trial of her son, as we learned at your residence.
Sorry, I knew one of you guys would find these pics. Okay, let's hear this. Let's hear this.
So you did keep some tabs on your friend during the trial of her son.
Oh my God, you guys, we were right with the satin. Oh my God, well done. They were on the prof's blog. Okay, I did not remember those were on there. Oh my God, y'all. There's a brief article written by him about the wedding. If you want to take a screenshot of the article, I'm going to get these pictures queued up here in just a sec.
Okay, and she was watching the trial of her son, as we learned at your residence, right?
Yes,
Okay, and when Charlie Adelson was convicted, you disagreed with the verdict, right?
yes,
You think the jury got it wrong, didn't you?
yes.
And that was out of loyalty to your friend, right?
No, I thought they got it wrong.
They got it wrong. Okay. And you, in fact, said to Mrs. Adelson, I know you are all innocent, all caps, all, right?
Yes,
Meaning Charlie's innocent.
yes,
Wendy's innocent.
definitely.
No Adelson had anything to do with the murder.
I'm not seeing this, that Harvey's been indicted. Where's your source? Also, so Trent is new to the Squirrel Crew. So if you're new, like such as Trent, welcome. But let's make sure that we are not we don't do any misinformation here. So let me know where your source. I just did a Google search and I'm not seeing anything about it. So let me know, and it would make, because I mean, yeah, I'm wondering if Trent maybe is a troll, which I mean, you know, like you're not going to have a good time being a troll here because we just don't really, we don't. Here's what we do with trolls. You could join Glenn potentially, our only other troll that we've had.
I have that skirt.
He happens to be a huge Wendi Adelson fan. Anyways, so, okay, let me carry on getting these pictures.
Of Dan Markel, isn't that what you think?
Yes.
We don't suffer fools is right, Franks.
And when she went to
Yeah.
Vietnam, or was trying to go to Vietnam to clear her head, she was going to clear her head in a non-extradition country. Can you agree with that?
I
Yes,
wasn't aware it was non-extradition.
Georgia.
She was going to clear her head with a one-way ticket to go do the head clearing.
She had no idea how long they were staying or where they would go.
Are you familiar with her statement that she's hoping to make it out of the airport on time?
Yes.
Hoping to make it out before what?
No, she meant the plane was on time.
No, ma'am. I'm
Oh my God, really? 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 No.
referring to hoping to make it out before law enforcement apprehended her. You aware of that?
No,
She didn't say that statement. to me.
Wow.
I don't recall really.
Okay.
You don't recall? I thought you recalled it, but you thought it was in regards to the plane being on time. Come on now. Come on.
Do you remember Mrs. Adelson texting you after the verdict and complaining that Wendi had not even called?
No, I don't.
Would it refresh your recollection to review that message?
Refresh her.
It's the bottom message on this page.
All right, I'm getting these pictures ready for y'all. Y'all ready? Thank you. Super Planner Girl wins tonight. Oh
Yes.
my God, thank you.
Does that refresh your memory?
I remember her describing Harvey being on the floor and crying like a baby.
Harvey's
Sorry. It's good. Very good. Dude, Super Planner Girl is coming in with all the receipts. Okay, we've got the pictures. Let's see here. Let me see. Let me download it real quick. Oh my God, I'm so excited to show you all this dress. I will say I'm surprised by the silhouette, not the silhouette I was expecting. But we got a lot of it. We were on point with a lot of it. So thank you so much, Amanda. Okay, so let me do this. Hold on, let me get this so I can show y'all. Give me just a moment. Okay, let me unshare, reshare here. Give me just a second. Okay. Here we go. Y'all ready? Bam. Let me take this stuff down. Hold on. Okay. So there's the neckline. So I think that would count. Is that like a sweetheart neckline? I would call that a sweetheart neckline. There's the tiara, and we got the satin, and it is strapless. Okay. And we got a couple different ones here. So there's one, and then we got, get a better idea here of the silhouette, which is a ball gown. And now she's graduating here from a tiara to a crown. But you can see the ball gown there. I mean, yeah, like this tracks though. This is like your super generic, nothing, nothing wrong with this if anyone else was wearing it, right? But like, anyway, and it's actually a drop waist, actually, you can tell, which is not the most flattering. Normally, you really want that skirt to come up higher where that crease is. So it's too bad we don't have a picture of her standing up because honestly, it probably was not the most flattering shape anyway. And then we also have an article that Dan wrote about the wedding, courtesy of Super Planner Girl, because she's awesome. Thank you so much. All right, so let's see here. And there's the pictures. Okay, as Paul reported a couple weeks ago, I recently got married. Here are a couple of the choice pics I mean, only 2 pictures of the Osita and her unfailing loveliness. I feel so sad that he ever thought that about her. If I can dig one up, I'll try to post one later with Ethan and me doing the Kazutski or some variation. Sorry if I butchered that pronunciation. The wedding was in South Florida. And 2 days later, we took off to Club Med in San Salvador, which is an island in the Bahamas. Notwithstanding a couple glitches, the first night they gave us a room with 2 beds. I have to say that at least this Club Med was an awesome place for a honeymoon. It's an adult sports camp with tons of delicious food and fun Canadians as GOs, camp counselors. What could be better? One of the best features of Club Med is its all-inclusive nature. One can go a whole week without or more without having to engage in the frustrations of daily commerce. And because everyone else is on vacation around you, it makes for a great environment to recharge the batteries. Never having been to Club Med or the Caribbean before, I highly recommend them both for canoodling. Oh God, I can't even fathom. And other joyful purposes. So let's take a look here. So there's really no comments at all from Dan. This is really sad about the actual wedding itself. And as we know, it was a disaster in a lot of ways, at least it went with the food. This entire thing, though, is not even really about what they did together. I mean, this is really like a glowing review of the Club Med. Like starting from here, let me edit this. Hold on. So check it out. So like starting from here, for the rest of the article, all of this is about Club Med. It's not even about things they did specifically. Like, it's not like, oh, we went snorkeling and then we went on a yacht and then we went skinny dipping and then we did this and that, right? Like, it's not of any of their activities. It's nothing specific to them, but literally recommending Club Med, all that. And as far as the wedding, that's the top portion, right? And it's just here are a couple choice picks of the Osita and her unfailing loveliness. So we got one comment about Wendi. The next part, if I can dig a picture up, he'll try to provide a picture of him doing that dance, right? I don't know. Do you guys find this interesting? Like, how does this read to y'all? Because what I would say is like what this kind of reads like to me is like, how to say this? What's the word I want to look for here? Like, instead of discussing anything about the wedding, like, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sure one of you guys in the chat will have the word. Yeah, that's true. It is his professional blog. That's true. But still, though, I mean, given that it's about the wedding, right? It's like minimal about the wedding. It's like, I mean, it's pretty much like nothing, right? I mean, it almost just sort of reads to me like he doesn't. I mean, and I'm not saying it's like a conscious thing. It could be like a subconscious thing, right? Like to rave about the Club Med, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, right? I am known to write very lengthy positive Google reviews that are like basically essays for places. Like my dentist is an example. That review will live in infamy. Anyways, like I've only done like a handful of Google reviews, but it's like for places that I'm like, this deserves the time to give the review that that I see fit. And anyway, it's like I go out, I get all squirrely with it, right? And I get carried away. But anyway, but here it's just a bit odd to me personally. Perfunctory, yeah, clinical. I'll just give a quick example of what this is kind of reminds me of. So many of you guys know I was in an abusive situation for like 5 years that no one knew about because you can't tell people because safety purposes and all that. And this was really more of a conscious thing, right? Versus subconscious, because I knew I was in a living hell. but basically what this kind of reminds me of is like, anytime somebody would ask me how I was doing, or like, what did you do? What did you do today? You know, whether it was my family or students or whatever, I literally couldn't answer that question. So I would have to come up with something else to talk about. Like, so, you know, I like, instead of answering the question of how I'm doing or what I did that day or whatever, I would think of something else to talk about that was positive, that was not answering. It was like non-responsive, right? Like I would tell a story about a student, like, oh, so my student, right? And I would like give a lot of details about that. And then, but does that make any type of sense? It's like, especially if you're like an optimist and a positive person, I think it's like a way to not talk about the reality of something. And I'm not saying, again, I'm thinking that, I mean, this could have been subconscious, because we know that at the very least there's a whole issue with the food, right? Anyways, let's take another look here. One last little look here of the bride, Bible. Yeah. The little rhinestones, the tiara. She's got her blue contacts in, it looks like. But so sad also, just so sad for Dan Markel. I mean, my heart does not ever and won't ever stop breaking for him. And just, ugh. Okay, so let me just unshare, reshare. For the win. Clearly you don't go to the Adelson Institute. LOL. Thank you for that. Well done on that one. We all know that Charlie was very, very, very concerned about all the bad Yelp reviews for the Adelson Institute. That is hilarious. Deflection. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Lori had a hearing. I saw that she had a hearing. I don't know what it was about, and I didn't watch it, but feel free to let us know if anything happened. But I did see that there was one. That's as far as I got. So, all right.
He's on the floor crying like a baby. And
Right,
when
here's where we left off. Harvey's on the floor crying like a baby. Here's where we left off.
she hasn't even called, right? Isn't that what it says? If she wrote that, didn't you just see where she wrote that?
I did. She wrote that.
What year was what?
And you offered to come and be with her during that difficult time, didn't you?
I believe we did.
One moment, please, Your Honor. Her husband do, or did he do before
My
he
late husband?
retired?
My
I'm
late-
sorry, I thought you had, maybe it's not your husband, partner?
Partner.
Is that Mr. Gutterson?
Yes.
What type of work does he do, or what's his background?
He owned a computer consulting business.
Okay. Does he also do anything with real estate?
He did it with his ex-wife. They flipped apartments a lot. They moved a lot.
Okay.
Made a lot of money in real estate.
Okay, great.
No further questions.
Redirect examination.
Donna didn't tell you at the time she was writing checks that she was writing checks, correct?
No.
And when you spoke about extortion, you were talking about Charlie being extorted.
Yes.
Donna, did she ever say she was actually being extorted, or
No.
how? Okay.
No.
Okay. Now you were asked questions by the state,
I don't know how that helps the defense, though.
which implied that
Trying to do.
Ms. Adelson was going to a non-extradition country. She wasn't returning, right?
That's what I was told.
Just now while you were
Yes,
testifying.
yes.
You didn't hear that before.
No,
Did Donna ever tell you she wasn't coming back?
never.
In fact, she told you she was coming back, didn't she?
Definitely.
And she was coming back without a doubt to go to what?
Lincoln's bar mitzvah.
I don't have anything further.
You may step down. Will this
Great.
witness
Okay, so here's the thing. So then they call her life partner, but I don't feel like there was anything too noteworthy from his testimony. Y'all let me know if you wanted to watch any of it. I thought, though, if I go ahead a little bit here, okay, they recall her. Okay, then they have the other dude. So, okay, so let's go to her recall. If y'all want to watch her life partner, let me know, but we're going to go to where she's recalled here. Because after this, I think, in my opinion, the witness right after this, I think provides what is the most, if not that anything was particularly helpful for the defense case in chief, but you know, it's this low bar, but I think the most helpful testimony for the defense coming up right after this.
Thank you. If you could pull that microphone down, Ms. Cunningham.
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Great.
I have a question about your use of cell phone service, and we touched briefly on things like WhatsApp, and what was the other one you said you use?
Viber.
Okay, Viber. When you communicated with Mrs. Adelson, did you routinely use one of those apps?
Yeah, that's
Quite often,
friends
yes.
too.
Which app did you use mostly?
WhatsApp or Viber.
Okay, all right. And as opposed to picking up and using the cell phone service, you would use those instead?
Yes.
Okay, I don't have anything further.
Cross-examination.
So you had gone to the airport after your last testimony, right?
That is correct.
And returned to the courthouse?
Yes.
Surprised me,
To
Amelia.
tell us what, that you used Viber or WhatsApp to make
Yes.
that phone call?
Yes.
So it wasn't a regular phone call?
Correct.
Okay, so you misspoke earlier or it just wasn't clear?
No, I said she called me.
Okay, and she called you and made a regular phone call on June 23rd, the month before the murder, right?
I don't recall. Maybe she made many phone calls.
And she called you on a regular line on July 20th, just 2 days after the murder. Do you recall that?
If you say so.
Okay, and July 21st.
The objection.
Yeah, the witness is not being shown the evidence that she's being confronted with.
I believe she is not.
Why is that your issue? She's answering if you say so. That should be your problem, Jackie.
Asked, or she is not asked to recall, or let me clear this up. Ms. Cunningham, do you need to see the items that the state is referring to refresh your recollection?
Do I?
Would
Yes,
you like
if
to
I
see
called,
them?
if I spoke with her, I spoke with her.
See, that's right there again, a huge red flag, because she's like, if you say so, which means like to me that would if she was being if she was like honest, right, and credible, that's like what somebody would do if they're just like they don't know what you're talking about and they're just trying to be agreeable. So like if that were true, she should have answered, I want to see it. I want to see the evidence. But she doesn't want to see it. This is crazy to me. Like this is huge. This is like, hold on. She's not, is she, it's like, okay, well, maybe, trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. She's like just such a loyal friend to Donna. She's going to just, provide the testimony she's been providing. Right. But this to me is like, oh, hold on, Anne, are you moving on to the next level here of like, knowing that you're being deceitful and, because like the fact that she doesn't want to confront the evidence is a big deal to me.
Let me clear this up. Ms. Cunningham, do you need to see the items that the state is referring to refresh your recollection?
Do I?
Would
Yes,
you like
if
to
I
see
called,
them?
if I spoke with her, I spoke with her.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you have no reason to contest that you spoke with her via regular phone call, June 23rd, July 20th, and July 21st.
If it's on the record, yes.
And
Oh my
but you're
God.
saying it was a WhatsApp or a Viber on the 18th.
Yes, they were in the car and they often called on those apps in the car.
Would it surprise you to learn that WhatsApp didn't offer voice calls until March of 2015?
Then it was on Viber.
Must have been Viber.
Amazing, right? Brutal. I remember when this happened live and I was like, oh my God, the death rattle.
Car and they often called on
Oh
those
my God.
apps in the car.
Would it surprise you to learn that WhatsApp didn't offer voice calls until March of 2015?
Then it was on Viber.
Must have been Viber, huh? Nothing further.
I have to say though, think about it this way. George's level of preparation, right? Because she must have seen this coming. She had that ready to go. That's like, that's something that you wouldn't just know, right? The fact that she was able to just confront her with the year that WhatsApp started doing voice calls is so impressive to me, that she had the foresight to plan ahead and like get that piece of information and have that ready to go is so impressive.
Redirect examination for the witness. You may step down, Ms. Cunningham. All right. We are certain.
Okay, so now here is the witness that I was saying that to me, I think is the most helpful witness to the defense. Again, low bar, but this was as this witness was testifying, I was like, you know what? This is the best they could have asked for, I think, in their case in chief, is some of the things this dude says here.
Adjust the microphone as you need to.
Thank you.
This tie, though, is very interesting. That might be another tie that I have to do a reverse Google image search for, speaking of crazy ties.
Good afternoon, sir. Can you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Richard Shagrin.
Mr. Shagrin, how do you know my client, Donna Adelson?
I met them 38 years ago. They're best friends. The wife was the president and CEO of a nonprofit. I was chairman of the board.
And you grew close with Donna and her husband, Harvey Adelson?
when I first met my wife 36 years ago, we formed a gourmet club, and they were part of the gourmet club. And we met probably every 2 to 3 months. And then as the years progressed, we became friendlier and went on a number of vacations with them.
Can you say gourmet
Raise your,
club?
scroll,
Is it?
Gourmet Di-
raise your scroll, Paul. If as soon as you heard that, your first association was the Finer Things Club from The Office. I'm raising my scroll paw. Literally, I heard that, and my association of like what that would even be, like the only thing I'm thinking the Finer Things Club from The Office.
dinners at people's houses.
No, they did that at The Office.
Now, are you married, sir?
I am.
Okay. And what does your wife do for a living?
She's an attorney.
What kind of attorney?
Specialty is real estate, corporate, and bankruptcy.
Estate planning?
Yes.
Now, did you speak with Donna or Harvey on the day that Charlie was convicted?
No.
How about the next day?
Yes.
Without telling us what they said, did you and your wife go to their residence in Miami?
Yes.
Okay. And when you got there, can you describe Donna for us?
She was distraught.
And what about Harvey?
Harley was like in shock.
Now, prior to this, you indicated that you had traveled with my client and her husband. Did you travel extensively on your own?
Well, we went on cruises, and then we did there was 13 of us did 2 weeks in Israel.
Were you somewhat savvier than they when it comes to booking travel?
Oh yeah, I've been to 75 countries around the world.
Okay. And were you asked to assist them in any way?
Y'all, okay, all right. First of all, what do y'all think? Did y'all find him more credible than the other friends? I know we didn't watch it here tonight, the life partner of Anne, but Anne and her life partner, I'm sure y'all already had seen it, versus this dude. Did y'all find him to be more credible? Also, let's play another fun game. Do y'all think that he got this crazy tie at some country he traveled to? And if so, let's play a game. Guess the country. Which country, if you think he got this tie on vacation somewhere abroad, what country do you think he got this tie from, as like a souvenir? I mean, and especially wearing a white shirt and a black jacket, this tie is an incredible choice. I actually really love that he decided. I mean, it's like all the personality there is in that tie, right?
On November 7th of 2023.
Yes.
And specifically, what were you asked to do?
Initially, I helped Donna with the visa. And then when we were done applying for the visa, Donna took Susan to show her the dress that she bought for Lincoln's bar mitzvah. And then she asked Harvey to sit down with me and make plane reservations.
Okay. When you sat down to assist with the reservations, what did you discover?
The ironic thing was that the round trip was a fraction more than one way. And I suggested, since you don't know when you're coming back until sometime in January, book a one-way. And I remember commenting to Harvey, I said, I'd be willing to bet it's cheaper to fly from Vietnam to the United States than it is from the United States to Vietnam.
Now, let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about the visa. Were there options that were given when selecting which visa to apply for?
To my recollection, there was only two options, a 30-day or a 90-day.
Do you know why the 90-day was selected?
Well, I said they didn't know how long they were going to be gone.
And do you remember if the visa that was applied for only allowed them to come into the country once, or did it allow them to come into the country multiple times?
I'm not aware.
Now, you indicated that they were coming back for their grandson's bar mitzvah.
Yes.
Okay. Why, if you know, why were they wanting to get out of town?
Well, unfortunately, they were barraged by the media. Unfortunately, live in a condo, so they didn't let them in. And they were afraid to leave the building.
To your knowledge, had the Adelsons been to Vietnam in the past?
Yes.
And they found it to be relaxing?
To my knowledge, I was there. I thought it was a great country, great people, great food.
I mean, the crucial part here, if anything, and it's not, again, the low bar, it didn't change anything. It wouldn't change anything, but just the fact that he was able to be like, again, you can find it credible or not, but the fact that he was like, yeah, I suggested they bought, did a one-way ticket, da da da. I mean, and when I say he's more credible than the other people, again, super low bar, right? My point is like, at least he's not just like going all over the place with like, yeah, I would do anything for them. And like, oh, she's just the best. And like, he comes across to me as more believable. And there's less like fluff in there. And he like, especially the part where he's like saying that he suggested the one-way ticket or whatever, that to me seemed like he was being straightforward, just how I personally, again, and comparing it to the other witnesses. And I'm going to put a poll in the chat here in a sec, guys.
Although you are the one that suggested the one-way ticket, who booked the flight?
Harvey.
To your knowledge, were they free to travel?
They told us when we got there that their attorney said they had no restrictions in traveling.
And right. And so that there is, again, I think that was actually smart that Mr. Zellman asked this question, because getting ahead of the fact that he was there for that phone call, right? It's like, yeah, I was there for the phone call. Like, that's not what he's saying, but that's the point of the question. But the way it was asked and answered is just, yeah, there was no restrictions. So yeah.
Can you describe the type of mother and grandmother that you observed Donna to be?
Well, Donna was the ultimate Jewish mother, not unlike my wife, that was very involved in their children and grandchildren's lives. I think Donna maybe was a little more involved in her grandchildren because of the situation of grandsons losing their father, Wendi working, and also they live close by, Donna and Harvey in South Beach.
Get your votes in, guys. We got a poll going.
So am I hearing you correctly? You would describe Donna as a typical Jewish grandmother?
More than typical.
And a typical Jewish mother?
Yes.
Yeah, the jury already heard the call. I'm just saying, rather than it coming out, like, you want to get ahead of this stuff, like, rather than it coming out on cross that, oh, like, you were one of the complicit people in the background with that call, right? Just because, now they have a name to put with the face, or face to the name or whatever, right? In other words, they heard the call, but I mean, I don't know that they would specifically remember or know the names of the people there and put two and two together that, oh, I think the Ann was pretty obvious, right? Because they had all those text messages, but this dude, right? But anyway, Zellman, I think, is a much better attorney than Jackie Fulford. And this was smart that he got out ahead of it by going ahead and confronting, oh yeah, you were there, but like, not like, oh, you were there, like, let's go ahead and get out. Like, the point of the question is to get out ahead of it. But the way he asked it was, instead of being like, oh, like, this is bad for us, we need to just go ahead and address it, he phrased the question of like, to elicit an answer that was like what the attorney said, that they were allowed to travel, which we know that's not exactly how that conversation went. But again, this is the best you can get for the defense, right? And so now if it comes up on cross, it's like, you know what I mean? They've already addressed that, but they've addressed it in a way that is the best possible scenario for the defense. So that's funny.
At the time that you were assisting them on November 7th of 2023 with the travel, had they decided when they were coming back from Vietnam?
They were undecided, other than the fact that they were going to, whether it was prior to the bar mitzvah or just before the bar mitzvah, they didn't know how long they were going to be gone.
But they were coming back for the bar mitzvah?
Oh, definitely. They wouldn't miss it for the world.
Just a moment, Your Honor. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. And when we get a better view of the tie, I'll see if I can screenshot it and do a reverse Google image search.
Sir, at the time that the travel was booked, the bar mitzvah was less than 90 days away, right?
It was in January.
I
Okay.
recall giving a deposition. It was by Zoom, but I was present August 29th, 2024.
Vaguely.
And in that deposition, weren't you asked, so did you make any of the decisions when to travel or how to travel, or were you just the conduit to the technology? And your answer was the conduit for the technology.
Ooh,
Yes.
Georgia.
But today you're saying you're
Well done, Georgia.
the one that suggested that they fly one way.
Objection, Your Honor, improper impeachment.
Overruled.
Isn't that right?
Well, to me, that's part of being the conduit, just suggesting.
You were there because you were more computer savvy than Harvey or Donna, right?
I was there that day.
Yes, sir. To help with the computer is what you said in the deposition.
Well, once we got there, I was there because my wife had done estate planning for them.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, but what you did in reference to the travel planning was help with the computer
Yes,
because you were more computer savvy than these two.
correct.
Okay. But today you're saying you suggested the one-way flight, right?
I just offered my suggestion.
Okay. And you said that Donna Adelson is a typical Jewish grandmother. Does a typical Jewish grandmother suggest dressing her grandchildren up in Nazi uniforms?
Not to my knowledge.
No further questions.
Nomination.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Brilliant, Georgia. Well done. That was amazing, dude.
Would you say
Just. Oh God, Georgia.
that you are more travel savvy than Donna and Harvey Adelson?
I would say yes.
And when you were deposed on August 29th of 2024, did Ms. Kappelman ask you if you made any suggestions about a one-way ticket or a round-trip ticket?
I don't remember.
Would it be helpful if I showed you a copy of your deposition transcript?
Surely.
I'm going to show page 11, lines 12 through 17.
Okay.
Did Ms. Kappelman ask if you made any decisions?
No,
Well, she asked if you made decisions, but you did not make decisions, did you?
no,
You made suggestions.
yes.
Nothing further.
Will this witness need to be retained or is he released?
He's released, Your Honor.
Have a good day, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so then we're not going to do all the private investigators. Sorry, guys. I'm sure y'all are really disappointed. And then I think we get that video. I mean, the realtor, great. I want to go to the next day because the next day was my favorite part, probably, of the trial, because that was the divorce people, and that is the yes. I've been looking so forward to this part in our live streams, you guys. So give me just a moment here. And we are going to move right along to day 8, which is the last day in testimony for this trial. Okay. Oh my God, y'all. Okay. So they have some issues starting out. Great. Okay, here we go. All righty.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you please introduce yourself to the jury?
I'm Kristin Adamson.
And Ms. Adelson, how are you employed?
I'm a lawyer.
What type of law do you practice?
I practice family law and
So remember, I just want to make sure everyone's got the context. By the way, I think her hair looks great. This is the attorney that Wendi is constantly complaining about. Remember the whole like $600 an hour thing? Or I guess Donna's complaining. They're both complaining. That's this attorney, which is really funny because this was Wendy's initial divorce attorney, right? After that, she gets that guy, Jimmy, who we heard Stephen Webster talk about. So this lady was essentially fired. So like I thought to myself, interesting choice, because does she know that Wendi was talking all this shit about her? I mean, maybe she doesn't know. And also interesting that they didn't bring in the divorce attorney from the end of the whole thing, right? That was a choice. They called her, but they didn't call the Jimmy dude. I don't know his last name. But the dude who was actually there for where it got really especially important because, you know, we had all the whole thing with the fraud. So anyway, okay.
I've done so for 37 years.
How long have you been practicing?
37 years.
Are you board certified?
Yes, I am board certified in marriage and family law by the Florida Supreme Court.
What's involved in becoming board
Okay,
certified?
we're going to skip some of this stuff because they're wanting her to be impressive, whatever. I don't care. You can skip this. She did all the things. Okay.
2013 and part of 2014.
Would you call her divorce a bitter custody
Yeah.
battle?
I would not. That's not how I would characterize it.
How would you characterize it?
She had a
Perhaps bolstering.
relocation case where she desired to go to Miami. All relocation cases are a little bit more difficult than just regular custody cases because we almost always have to have a court determination on a relocation case because unlike almost all other family law cases, relocation is a win-lose thing. Almost everything else in family law is sort of a split the baby. Relocation is not. So we did have to go to court on that. And that going to court always is
This was happening. And I thought it was bad already. It's like, we didn't have, I thought to myself, what is going on? This jury, like, listen to this, guys. The jury doesn't know what split the baby means. Why? What? Oh my God. Like, this is just nonsensical. Like, the jury's got to either be tuning her out, confused. Eventually, I'm sure they got pissed off. I certainly was. But this is just like, to me, I'm offended for the jury that you would make them sit. And this is just the beginning. Sit here and listen to this, knowing that this jury has no clue what she's talking about, and it's not even relevant. And it was like, I remember so clearly with this at this moment in time when this was happening live, and I was like listening to it in the background at work. And I thought to myself, oh my God, they're filibustering. That's what they're doing. They are filibustering. They are delaying the inevitable, because remember, this was the day where there was all this back and forth. Is Donna going to testify? Is she not? And like they finished off day 7 playing that entire fucking video, right? Really long video, you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh my God, they're full of it. Like, I remember thinking it then, this made it so clear because the details that are irrelevant and the jury has no idea what they're talking about between this lady and the next one. It's like for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. It's like, to me, it's like, this is just so obvious that they're just filibustering. And then, of course, that was confirmed with what ends up happening later in the day.
A little bit harder, but in
Oh,
general,
really? I've
this
only
was
ever heard of it.
more or less after that, a run-of-the-mill kind of parenting issue kind of case.
Is it unusual to seek, in your practice, has it been unusual to seek relocation?
No, not at all. I have 2 right now.
Now, speaking to Tallahassee, why is it not unusual?
Why is it not unusual?
Yes.
It's not unusual because it depends on why someone is here in Tallahassee. Tallahassee has a lot of students with the university.
The other thing I was thinking at this time too was I was surprised that the state didn't call Stephen Webster, because he testified during the state's case in chief at Charlie's trial, and I think maybe also Katie's trial. But I was surprised when they didn't call him, because it was like one of the people that always gets called, right? And I thought, well, when they didn't call him in their case in chief, I was like, you know what? When this started happening, I was like, I bet they're saving him for rebuttal, right? Because it's like at this point, it was like we didn't know who was going to come up after her, but it's like, oh, well, we got one. Here's one of the attorneys who was actually working on the case, right, for Wendi. It made sense to me, like, oh, so they're going to call Stephen Webster in rebuttal, but then they didn't, which I thought was interesting. I would love to know what went into that decision. If it was just they just knew they didn't need to, but still, right? Like, why not take the opportunity to just obliterate these 2 ladies? You know what I mean? Like, plus Stephen Webster has a lot of really important testimony. And yeah, I was surprised that they didn't call him again in the case in chief, but even more surprised they didn't call him in rebuttal. I figured that if they were going to do anything with rebuttal, I thought to myself, well, they might just call one witness. It would be Stephen Webster, but no Stephen Webster.
They may graduate with a degree, have children, expect to be able to move somewhere
Yeah,
else.
Northwest. Yeah, we watched that on the last live stream. I think it was the last live stream. We talked. It's at the beginning of the live stream and it's all timestamped, but we talked about that in depth. And I saw his interview at the time. He'd only done the one interview. I think he talked about it on another STS show after that. But yeah, like that last live stream that we did, like whenever that was, like probably a week ago, because I was sick. That was like when I think maybe the same day or maybe the next day, but it was right after that happened. And so we started the live stream breaking that down because, yeah.
After they graduate, one person wants to leave, the other person doesn't want to leave. The 2 cases
If anyone didn't see that, I would say prioritize, if you're thinking about this case, after this live stream, I would say prioritize going back to the previous live stream. Again, it's all timestamped and it was right at the very beginning of the live stream. I would say prioritize going back and just watching that chunk where we went through that Stephen Webster interview, because it is, I think, the most damning evidence against Wendi yet. And And we're going to talk about that more too when we get to the Wendi video at some point here. So.
Right now, they're not here in front of this court. So they're actually, one of them settled. But one of them, the mother received a potential job offer in North Carolina. The father lived here. She wanted to move to North Carolina. His family was here. Her family was not. She wanted to move somewhere else. So that was one. And another one that I have right now is a person wants to move to Pensacola. My client wants to move to Pensacola because her family is there, and the father does not want to because
we didn't even need one example, but the one example was plenty. It's like, what? The jury doesn't. Why are you talking about your case? Like, this is, again, it's filibustering. Yeah,
his job is here, so
right?
It's almost always about moving to be close to.
Like pretty much everything from this lady and the next one was objectionable, and I think it was really smart of the state. I mean, to minimize the objections because they knew that this was going to have they knew the effect this was going to have on the jury, in my opinion. Because we could start with the relevance objection, but I mean, pretty much all of the testimony you could object on relevance grounds and then additional grounds too.
Family when a marriage dissolves. I mean, that even happened with my sister when she divorced in Florida. She moved to Atlanta to being close to my my parents. It's a very common thing for people to want to move to be near their parents, no matter how old they are.
Now, do you have parents who attend client meetings?
I do. And it doesn't seem to matter whether my clients are 20 or 40. I have many cases where a mom or a dad or sister or somebody comes to almost every meeting I have, including mediations, and they're heavily involved in the divorce of their sibling or their child, regardless of age. It's just something, families tend to be enmeshed in their other families' divorces. They do.
Remember, and, we didn't watch any of the jury voir dire process, but that was so fascinating. I did talk about something we might want to do after the trials, go back and watch the jury voir dire because it was so, so, so good. But there's several jurors, several people that were on this jury that had been through divorces. And my recollection from voir dire was like they all had amicable divorces and where they're like, yeah, we're still friends with them and whatnot. Which the defense, knowing that, should have considered that when putting this lady and the next one in front of this jury for hours and hours and hours on end, knowing, okay, yeah, we got jurors here who've been through divorces and what were their divorces like? Because if you want, I mean, it's like, what, if you, in case you weren't alienating them enough, right? I mean, it's just, what were they thinking? I just don't even know.
I usually let them come.
Yeah, anecdotal, yeah. And, again, as far as like another objection, non-responsive, right? Objection non-responsive, objection relevance. I think you were also going to get to some good hearsay here, and then also some asked and answered. I'm sure there will be some others along the way. But there's a lot of non-responsive from both her and the next witness, just in general. Again, just like with the in general relevance objection.
Mediation, because sometimes it's important to hear how the mediation is going so that they don't try to armchair quarterback it after the mediation.
Understood. Now, you indicated that you typically have to go to court for relocation. How difficult is it to get court approval for relocation?
Well, I always tell my clients in Leon County that even though, according to the statute, there's no presumption that someone should be able to leave or not leave, I do think that there's a presumption against relocation. And I always tell the
jury probably doesn't know what a statute is. Like, again, just another objection vague, objection vague. It's honestly like, it's funny because her and the next one, it's like they're being really, really, really specific. Like with the split the baby thing, like Kitsmans was saying that actually originates from like a Jewish saying, but no one on the jury was Jewish. And I don't think they would know what that meant. I had never heard of it apart from, in you being used in the law, but it's like, they're being so specific, right? That all of it just comes across as vague if you're not someone who knows what a statute is, for example, right? A great example, when the jurors spoke out and gave interviews, one thing that I picked up on is when they were talking about the different charges, not a single juror used the word element, but they all used the same word. Did you guys pick up on this? The word that they all used was point. I thought it was interesting because that means that's the word that they must have used in deliberations, because all three of them use that same word. So they would say, yeah, when we were looking at the charges, and we would go point by point. The word, none of them, not any of those jurors, used the word element. So the way that they, in their brain, being lay people, defined, it's like, what is this thing, right? It's, it's an element, but they called it point by point, which makes sense. They're lay people. But just a great example of, like, even though element was used in the jury instructions from Judge Everett, in their mind, they remembered it as being point by point. And it's, again, just a great example of how, like, this is just, I mean, again, you take all this really specific stuff that they don't understand, and the overall takeaway would be objection vague, in addition to the other objections. So yeah.
Clients, that it's a very hard thing to
100%.
obtain a relocation.
Right. Definitely. Definitely.
That you have to have kind of special circumstances, and there's a whole laundry list of statutory criteria that you have to meet to try to be able to relocate. And so we sit down and we go through the statutory criteria and determine whether or not you'll be able to do it. Most of the time, I tell them it's a 50-50 shot at best. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes.
Objection. That you didn't ask her. There's an objection, no question pending. That's another one. Objection, no question pending. She's just talking. He didn't say, oh, so what's usually their best chance? What are their chances? Like, there's no objection, no question pending. Watch.
And so we sit down and we go through the statutory criteria and determine whether or not you'll be able to do it. Most of the time, I tell them it's a 50-50 shot at best. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes less.
Okay. Did you have that conversation with Wendi Adelson while you were representing her?
I did.
Okay. And did you advise her of that same information?
I did. Basically, I told her that if this is something that was important to her, this was her.
Objection, no question pending. The question was, did you advise her of that? Did you advise? It's a yes or no question. And she said, I did. And then goes on to say what she told her, which again is hearsay. So add that to the mix.
Information.
I did. Basically, I told her that if this is something that was important to her, this was her one shot at it. If you get divorced and then try to relocate afterwards, you're
and just to reiterate, it is for the truth of the matter, right? That she only has one shot and that it's important that she go for it. This is for the truth of the matter. This is a huge part of, like, all this with the divorce and the motive and this and that, the relocation, right? It's hearsay. It's fucking hearsay.
You're not going to win unless something really substantial.
And it's non-responsive and there's no question pending.
Comes up and changes it. So if she wanted to try to be able to relocate, this was her shot at it at best.
And
so in other words, is it
there? Well, now it was just bolstering because she just said it was her one shot and she just repeated it.
Not that it's easy, but is it easier to try to obtain relocation in the initial proceeding or in a modification?
In an initial proceeding.
Objection leading. Objection leading. You can't lead on direct. I mean, we know this. Okay, let me just say, fair is fair. The state led the entire time, right? But the defense didn't object. The leading drove me crazy with the state. The leading's driving me crazy here as well. You're not supposed to be leading on direct, but if nobody objects, you can do it, but it's still going to drive me crazy.
The standard for a modification, what is that?
The standard for a modification is a substantial change in circumstance. And at the time that I had Wendi's case, there was also another component which no longer exists. But at the time that I had Wendi's case, you had to prove there was a substantial change in circumstances, that it was in the best interest of the child for a modification, and that it was detrimental to the child not to modify. That detriment part does no longer exist. Now you have to just prove there's been a substantial change in circumstance, and that it's in the best interest of the children. But at that point, you would have had.
It doesn't matter what you have to prove now. It doesn't matter what the burden is now. Why? Just so she can repeat all these words again. It's so stupid. Filibustering.
That is detrimental in some way to the children to modify.
Is that why you advised Ms. Wendi Adelson, if she wanted to try relocation, she should do it at the front end?
Yes. Proving detriment is hard to describe
no question
to
pending.
Clients because they don't understand how substantial that really has to be. It has to be very substantial. Children are failing in school. Children are potentially being neglected or abused, or there's alcohol or drug or mental illness.
Have you ever been successful in convincing a judge to grant relocation?
I personally have only won one case in 37 years for relocation.
Now, what's interesting is, if I recall correctly, we're going to hear it, the other defense lady that goes after her, the quote-unquote expert, gives an answer that's completely contrary to that, because all the defense attorneys who've commented on this have said that it is really, really, really rare. And so her answer would be more accurate if she's saying I've only won one. But if I recall that the expert who comes after her is like, oh, it happens all the time, whatever. Other thing I'll say is this. Again, the defense attorney's strategy here, I think, is to filibuster because they're trying to buy Donna time to make her decision. They ended up not buying enough time, unfortunately. But anyway, but you know, what better way to do that? Because I think that for these attorneys, her and the next lady, this is their opportunity. They've got a captive audience, right? Like, if no one's objecting, like by no one, I mean the state, they get to sit here and basically, you know, we see it all the time with expert witnesses in cases, right? Where instead of actually informing the jury or helping explain the evidence, right, the way that they're supposed to, you know, sometimes we get these experts that come in and all they want to do is just talk about how experty they are. And it's like really obnoxious and annoying and is not probative at all and not helpful. And they just they're just like, oh, this is my opportunity to sit here and like, it's like an ego thing, right? And just like talk about how great I am and so what they'll do is they will actually get really into the nitty gritty and use all these words that the jury's not going to understand. And they know the jury's not going to understand. Their goal being to be impressive, right? And so, which is completely the opposite of, it's counterproductive anyways. But so my thought with her and the next lady is that, again, the defense with their goal, I think, being to filibuster, then they've got her in the next one where they know that they're going to get up here on the witness stand and want to like be like, I'm the best, divorce attorney ever type of thing, right? Super lawyer and this and that. And so experty, and they're going to just, if no one stops them, they're going to do what we see them do and just go off because it's like to me, it comes across as an ego thing. Not every attorney would get on the stand and talk like this. It's very interesting. You guys know what I mean? Yeah, right. I know. I thought this one was bad until the next one came in. And I lost my shit, guys. I'm sure y'all did too. I've never seen anything like that in my life. And I forgot about this lady once the next one came in. So yeah.
So would you say it's difficult?
I think it's difficult.
Now, even though you've only gotten court approval for one with the client, have you been able to successfully negotiate for relocation in other cases?
I have been able to negotiate relocation in other cases, sometimes through help of
That's it. That's the answer to the question. So at this point, we're non-responsive again.
mental health professionals who will interview the parties and the children and make recommendations. Sometimes we'll have a guardian ad litem appointed to make a recommendation.
They don't know what a guardian ad litem is.
We'll have a parenting evaluation or something like that that makes a recommendation. And if you have those things behind you, then it does help because most people don't want to go to a judge if you have a mental health professional that says, oh yeah, relocation would be great. So we have been able to do it in that way. I also have been able to have relocations when you have an older child who really wants to relocate and the other parent doesn't.
I'm losing my mind already, guys, with just how this testimony.
Object. Or sometimes you have, like in my sister's case, which I actually shouldn't have, but I did represent my sister.
I shouldn't have, ma'am. Yeah, you really shouldn't have represented your sister. You're right that you shouldn't have. And why are you saying that?
Moved to Atlanta, and then her husband was able to obtain a job in Atlanta and move up there to her former husband. So we negotiated.
Who cares?
And I think you said that you explained all of this to Wendi.
I did.
Was she aware that chances of success were low?
Yes. I mean, I told her that this was her shot.
Objection, speculation. That's a question for fucking Five-Hole. Whether or not Wendi was, that question is, did Wendi understand what you were explaining to her, essentially, right? Objection, speculation as to what Wendi was thinking inside her Five-Hole brain.
I thought she had some good reasons. I would never have someone file a relocation if I didn't think they had a shot at it. So I think she did have a shot at it for many reasons. But including the fact that her parents were down there, that
no one's asking any of this.
Had a very flexible job. He had family in South Florida. These were very little children at the time. We did not have the presumption of 50-50 parenting, and she had done most of the parenting. There were lots of reasons I felt like she had a really pretty good shot at it. But I did tell her it's not going to be easy.
Okay. Now, let's talk about family law rules of procedure generally. Do the rules require the exchange of certain materials in dissolution proceedings?
Yes.
And what are those?
We have mandatory disclosure in divorce and modification proceedings, including custody and just regular divorce. And pursuant to the Florida Supreme Court rules in 12.540, we have to file a financial affidavit under oath that the
This hits differently now because at the time when this testimony was coming out, we had not heard the news from Stephen Webster. you guys, I'm so glad we're getting to watch this after the fact, because this is it. The financial affidavit under oath. Man, we have so much more insight into this now.
The parties and lawyers and the paralegals help them fill out. We also provide a laundry list of documents that keeps getting larger. It's bank statements for 3 years. It's retirement statements. It's deeds. It is.
What happens though if you lie about that? I wondered. I mean, again, it's like in hindsight, it's like, is he gonna ask that question? Like, this is crazy. Like, what happens if you hide assets? Like, if that question was asked at the time, it would not have resonated with me the way it would resonate now. And I mean, maybe on cross again, I've only just heard this once through when it was happening live. So I don't remember all of the specific questions, but we're going to hear it now.
Credit reports. I mean, it's a very large, voluminous amount of documentation that we have to exchange with the other party, the other counsel.
And when completing the financial affidavits, specifically when you completed Miss Adelson's family law financial affidavit, did you gather records in the process of completing that?
This is really important. I understand that this is torture, but I really want to hear this about the financial records. And if you guys want, after we get this answer, we can skip ahead to like cross, or we could just skip ahead to the next one. As terrible as she is, we have to, because the testimony from the next witness, I'll never fucking forget. I've never seen anything like that in all my life.
So you could disclose everything appropriately.
We did. We gathered all those records and we exchanged them. And gave them to opposing counsel. Sometimes what does happen is the other side has all the records. For example, tax returns, we have to exchange tax returns for 3 years. Sometimes the father or the husband might have all the tax returns, the wife might have all the tax returns. So you do rely sometimes for the other side to provide the documents that you should have. But
Now,
that does happen.
Do you have to?
That was interesting because that was not responsive again to a question. Does she know there was something up with these financial records? And she's going ahead and getting a disclaimer.
List all assets on the financial affidavit.
Y'all, here we go.
Within reason, you do have to list your substantial assets. Sometimes I have people that want
Within reason? Question I have. So would like, I don't know, for example, a secret bank account with like at least $500,000, would that count as a substantial asset to you?
list minutia assets, de minimis assets. We don't really do that. We try to keep it as global as possible. We don't list everybody's clothing or, but we list all the cars generally.
Right. Okay. Right. Fine. Don't list all the stupid FIVE addresses. But secret bank accounts that you're hiding from somebody in divorce proceedings. Yeah.
Speaking, but financial affidavits are also a work in progress. We can amend them, and that is part
again. There's a lot of caveats here, which is interesting.
What happens when you go through a dissolution? Sometimes more documents come to light. A lot of times when people are getting divorced, they're not always in their best mind, and they're not always working as well as you'd want them to. So it takes a lot of help to get a lot of these documents sometimes. So we amend financial affidavits, and I always tell them, don't worry, we'll amend before we go to court if we didn't have them.
This is really interesting. So at the time, this just came across to me as, again, objection relevance, non-responsive, like who cares, da-da. But now, knowing what we know about FIVE with the fraud, right? This is completely different, because this is almost, y'all, she's like almost giving every type of like excuse to like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Because if she knew there was fraud going on, right, with Wendi, I mean, potential disbarment. I mean, it's a huge fucking deal. And for anyone who doesn't think about, I know the cases are so different, but Murdoch, literally, like hiding assets in the boat case. Again, it's so crazy that the similarity between these two cases were like the undoing. Like, I mean, again, that's why that Stephen Webster interview was so earth-shattering, because the hiding of assets in civil cases, again, in Murdoch, he was being sued for the boat case. Here it's a divorce, is like, people kill over it. Let's just say that. But if you are complicit in that, then you can be on the hook for fraud as well, like criminal charges. But if you're the attorney, I mean, this is wild. Like, let me just back this up real quick, because it'll be interesting to see what happens. When FIVE goes to trial and all this comes out, what's going to happen with this attorney? I have questions. We didn't know about any of this with the fraud until Stephen Webster gave that interview. So like, this just all hits differently.
But financial affidavits are also a work in progress. We can amend them.
Here.
And that is part of what happens when you go through a dissolution. Sometimes
Interesting.
more documents come to light. A lot of times when people are getting divorced, they're not always,
It's like she's trying to go ahead and be like, oh, well, 50 was going to add that account in later. Mm-mm. You see what I mean, though? It's like making these excuses. That this makes me feel like she's had the knowledge, though, guys. Yikes.
their best mind, and they're not always working as well as you'd want them to. So it takes a lot of help to
You're
get
liable. You're never in your best mind.
a lot of these documents sometimes. So we amend financial affidavits, and I always tell them, don't worry, we'll amend before we go to court. If we have more documents that come up and we find
And
out
you
more.
can amend them, but whenever you are providing an affidavit, you have to be truthful as to your knowledge at that time. So if you get new information, you amend the affidavit with the new information. What you can't do is have the information and not include it. Different
information, or you change jobs, we have to do that.
What about non-marital assets?
We generally list non-marital assets as separate if we have knowledge of them. Non-marital assets can be very clean, where you absolutely know something's non-marital, or they may not be, because what people don't always understand is an education process as you're educating your client as they're going through divorce. Simply because it's in your name alone does not mean it's non-marital. So it can be in your name alone as marital if you have obtained it during.
You guys want to? Okay, I think that I heard what I wanted to hear there. That to me was very red flaggy. Do you guys want to hear any of her cross-exam? I think we probably want to hear some of her cross-exam, and then we'll go to the other lady because she's just steals the day. Let's see. I'm just going to see if we're crosses. My guess is we're on cross because look at her change in body language, guys. As I just jumped ahead to a random place. Let's see if I'm right. Wow, her blink rate. Where she's looking. Are we on cross?
You may.
Ms. Adamson, I'm going to approach to show you.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
We're not. He is fumbling around getting records. Oh, right. Is this one of the things where they try to get in? Hold on. Oh, this is right after talking about finding out that Dan Raquel was dead. Okay, let me back this up. Let's hear this part. Okay, interesting, because her behavior there was noteworthy to me.
And I think that he was gone within a few weeks after that.
So you were supposed to be a witness on Wendi Adelson's behalf, right?
Never mind. It was cross-exam. I was right. Cross-exam and right after. Okay. This is cross-exam. Okay. So right on that one as well. So let me back it up. For some reason, Zellman was speaking and I thought it was still direct. Okay. Let me back this up a little bit. Interesting, guys. Her demeanor is so different. Okay.
Do you ever have clients or family members of clients who have?
True. There wasn't a lot more going on in most of them.
So you wouldn't have knowledge of Wendi sending pleadings to her mom and saying, let's edit this?
No, because I wouldn't have edited it based on that anyway.
Okay.
I mean, maybe they did, but I didn't do it.
All right.
And I never heard about it.
Okay. So this
You
would have
thought
been
you stopped as an attorney?
That happened, yeah.
You mentioned that, of course, she had a shot with relocation, but given the situation in this case being that the kids were raised in Tallahassee, the parents' jobs with FSU, you were not personally surprised when the relocation was denied.
I'm never surprised when a relocation is
Yeah,
denied.
again,
Because it's hard to prove
from
detriment at that
the
time.
Yeah, I'm
next
always hopeful,
witness
you know.
is that the next witness offers completely opposite testimony. They're like, oh, it happens all the time. And it's like, oof.
But,
Right.
And I thought she had a good shot. I wouldn't have let her do it. I mean, I'm not going to file a frivolous motion. And I thought she had a good shot for a number of reasons.
Regardless, though, of what you think, do you ever have clients or family members of clients who have unrealistic expectations of what the courts will allow?
She has to say yes to this. You have to say yes. Of course that happens. Come on.
Or what you can do for them?
Yes.
Okay. Even given your best guidance.
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
That's not an uncommon thing.
No, that's why parents are often involved in these cases and come to talk to me about what they think I should be doing. Yes, I get that a lot.
Right. And at that relocation hearing, were Donna and Harvey Adelson possible witnesses?
I've been trying to think about that. I think that that's probably why I had them sit outside, is because they could potentially be witnesses and invoking the rule. However, I think we had come to the
Invoking the rule. The jury has no idea what the fuck this is about,
close of our case.
But you wouldn't know that until
Right.
you were done calling witnesses.
Correct. So that's right. Yeah.
Okay. So that's why they were in the hallway.
That's why
most
they're in the
likely.
hallway, yeah.
Okay. Not because
So
they
that
didn't care
makes
they
more
weren't
sense
involved.
then.
No, they were very nice. I mean, I met them. They were there when I got there in the morning. They introduced themselves. They were very nice. We did their thing. Came back and told them afterwards. Nobody yelled or screamed or cried or did any carrying on, which sometimes happens. So no, it was all very appropriate.
Okay. Do you sometimes have clients or family members of clients who take the news harder than you do when they lose something in court?
I don't like to lose either. So there's that. I don't like it. That's why I don't like to go to court if I think I'm going to lose. That's why I want to settle things. But
I don't know. Like saying that to me is just like, oh my God, dude. filter yourself. Why would you say that in front of the jury? That bothered me on so many levels too. She's like, I don't like to lose. That's why I try to settle things. I mean, that is a huge issue because it's not about what you want. Like what she says here is like, I don't like to lose. So if I can settle things instead of going to trial, I'm going to try to do that. What? I'm sorry, but ma'am, your job as an attorney is not to do what's best for you and what you want. It's what's best for your client. Who cares if you want to win or if you hate to lose? If your clients want to go to trial, then you go to trial. Like, this is so gross. And like, why are you just not filtering that? You don't have to say that out loud. If they didn't hate you enough already, man.
Sometimes they take it really hard, especially family if they're not there. If they do.
Okay. And
God.
you said Wendi was upset when she was denied the relocation, but she was calm. Oh, let me also ask you this. Wendi Adelson stipulated to the denial of the relocation after you found out behind the scenes from the judge that it was going to be denied.
Correct.
Okay. And she was upset about it, but calm.
Yes.
She's not screaming.
No.
Okay.
And I have people do that. I mean, I've had to have my own clients taken by the bailiff out.
I'm sure you've seen it all. And how did Donna Adelson feel about not winning the relocation?
I don't know how she felt. I can only tell you that I came out, I talked to Wendi, and then briefly, as far as I remember, because I mean, it was 13 years ago, I think I talked to all of them and kind of told them what happened and what was going on. And, you know, I didn't agree with the judge, but this is the judge and I get to make the decisions. And I think that Wendi went and talked to her parents without me and then came back and said, okay, we're good. We can go into court and we can stipulate,
Okay.
which is what I had suggested.
So if there are emails of Donna Adelson being upset about and very disappointed and about it being denied or unhappy with your representation for some reason, that's not something she's telling you to your face.
No.
Okay. You talked about Dan Markel not paying what he was supposed to pay according to the settlement agreement. In Dan Markel's court filings, did he give, and I know you don't agree with those reasons, but did he give his reasons for not paying?
He gave his reasons.
Okay.
Yes.
And that included the fact that he was accusing Wendi of noncompliance.
Ooh.
That's true.
Okay.
Ooh.
Eventually, did you seek to have Dan Markel held in contempt of court?
I did. It was part of my motion was to have him held in contempt of court and
I know, right?
enforce it. That's not the kind of contempt where I can throw him in
Yeah,
jail.
what does that mean? Contempt of court. Can you explain?
I thought that was, by the way, I just to comment here on what Kit Smith said. I love that from Sarah Dugan, where she says, I'm sure you've seen it all. I thought that was brilliant. It was a really brilliant way to stop her from continuing on with talking, right? Like she basically she did a lot of things with that one response. She was able to stop the witness from just carrying on, right? Also seem like she's agreeing with the witness, which is a great way to approach cross if you want to, get on their good side. You know what I mean? Like she's agreeing with her, but also, that the jury knows exactly what she meant by that, right? And just like the shit show that happens when in divorce cases, which is like part of the point that the state's trying to make anyway. So, and of course to this witness, she's just like, oh, you're agreeing with me, right? So like, yeah, that was brilliant. It was like 3 birds with 1 stone with that comment, in my opinion.
So in a child support hearing or an alimony support hearing, if someone doesn't pay their child support or their alimony, we can have someone held in contempt of court and put in jail if we can prove they have the ability to pay, but they're just not paying. And then the court can put them in jail until they pay the amount they're supposed to pay. Okay. Because they have it.
I'm going to go ahead here because this goes on for a long time about the child support thing. And that's not what was going on here. Like she goes on and on and on. And then just to be like, but that's not what was happening here. And it's like, oh, for fuck's sake. I'm just going to jump ahead a little bit here.
And she should be disbarred.
Would you describe this divorce as?
Hold on. Fraud.
Should be held in contempt legally the way that I was using it. I think his pleadings were much more when he should be disbarred.
Okay.
I mean, that's what he specifically said.
Right.
She was committing fraud and she should be disbarred.
Would you describe this?
Oh shit. So again, the being disbarred thing was like what always stuck out to me because we knew that was, but the fraud. See, my ears are now listening for that in a different way than before. Because we just have more information. Oh my God. And this is before the hammer's about to come down because this is before Stephen Webster's got involved. Wow. Or well, sorry. No, Stephen Webster was involved, but it was before the conversation that he had, which was with the lawyer after her. So this is before it got even worse. And he said that he used the word fraud. And she just said that in front of the jury, man. Because she's just running her mouth. Oh my God.
Actually said she should be held in contempt legally the way that I was using it. I think his pleadings were much more when he should be disbarred. I mean, that's what he specifically said.
Right.
She was committing fraud and she should be disbarred.
She didn't have to say that. She could have just left it there with the disbarred, but then she has to elaborate. Wow.
This divorce as contentious?
I wouldn't describe the divorce as particularly contentious
Great.
at all compared to most of the divorces I had. And we settled it. I don't settle a lot of my cases where we actually go to week-long trials over things like
But
that.
you just said that you settle most of your cases, not 2 seconds ago, because it was annoying me. Because you said you made the whole point about how you don't like to lose. She's just literally contradicting herself, guys.
Nature. I think it was like any divorce where there were ups and downs of moments where it was contentious and not fun. But for the most part,
Not fun.
we settled it. We settled it after mediation and it wasn't a problem. I do think that this whole issue of the enforcement got a little contentious. I really didn't understand it because he paid the first $50,000 fine. And then all of a sudden he decided not to pay the rest. And I didn't really get it and know why he was doing that because the parenting stuff didn't come up for like several months afterwards. So none of what he was doing made sense. I think he just got upset with Wendi or something. I don't know what it was.
Okay.
Then why are you testifying about it? And also, like, all of the objections here, like all of it. Hearsay, non-responsive, no question pending, speculation, relevance.
Thank you for that information.
Again, brilliant from Sarah Dugan, right? Love it. Because this answer is bolstering her ego, right? We're agreeing. Thank you for that information. But again, it's the way she says it, the timing, dude, it's just like that other one with, I'm sure you've seen it all. It's like your information is so useless. Like, dude, brilliant. It's really clever, really clever. You know, Georgia comes in with the next one, you know, and it's awesome. It's amazing. And she's like coming for blood. But, you know, Sarah Dugan has a very, very, very different style and different approach. And I think it's extremely effective. It's just funny, the contrast, right, of how Sarah Dugan handles it. And where the snark is like real subtle. And there's some very intentional statements. And then Georgia comes out swinging with the next witness. And it's, yeah.
I didn't really get it and know why he was doing that because the parenting stuff didn't come up for like several months afterwards. So none of what he was doing made sense. I think he just got upset with Wendi or something. I don't know what it was.
Okay. Thank you for that information. It wasn't contentious, but you did say that his motions were very personal. His pleadings were very personal.
That's where I think it became contentious.
And
when he did that.
was that personal attacks on both Wendi Adelson and you?
Correct.
And he was alleging that Wendi Adelson committed fraud, right?
Yes.
He's alleging
Yes.
you committed fraud. It got so bad that
And there it is, right? Literally. I see it so funny. Keep listening. I mean, because that's the question I was asking. Because I was like, dude, she was complicit here, right? In the hiding of assets. So what Dan was saying was correct. We just didn't know all that we know now. They were both committing fraud. Yeah, man, dude. You know, I hope she enjoys being a super lawyer because it'll be interesting to see how much longer that sticks around for her when more of this comes out at Pilate's trial.
to get off the case so that you could be a witness on Wendi Adelson's behalf, right?
Correct. That's happened before, though. I mean, I've had that happen before.
And he alleged Wendi should
Committed fraud before?
be disbarred, you said.
Correct.
And he's having issues with Wendy's mom, Donna Adelson, even being able to watch the kids, is what you said in one pleading.
One of the pleadings said something about the right of first refusal that he had, and she shouldn't be allowed to have the kids unsupervised, I think, during right of first refusal, because she was saying things about him to the kids, he thought.
And did the litigation between Dan Markell and Wendi Adelson continue even after you got off the case?
Once I got off the case, it was the end of June, and I think that he was gone within a few weeks after that.
So you were supposed to be a witness on Wendi Adelson's behalf, right?
Correct.
Were you ever able to have that hearing?
No,
Why not?
because I got a call from Jimmy Jenkins when I was in Tampa at something that he was dead. It was pretty shocking.
Does that happen very often in your divorces?
That does not, we've had a few people get murdered, and I've had a few suicides, but it's rare, and I remember all of them.
Right, but not contentious.
Sometimes I don't know with the suicides, I don't know. That's all. Thank you.
Redirect examination.
Remember when I said her body language was being weird? This is the spot where it was. So I'm going to play it through. And so it switches over to redirect. Watch, you guys. I'm going to put it on normal speed for this because this is and how brilliant to end it this way. And then we'll bump it back up when we go to the next. It's so funny. This is randomly where I clicked and I'm like, what is going on here? Oh shit. It's the end of cross and she's getting asked about this and her answer with the suicide thing. Dude, just avoiding
To have that hearing.
No,
Why not?
because I got a call from Jimmy Jenkins when I was in Tampa at something that he was dead. It was pretty shocking.
Does that happen very often in your divorces?
That does not, we've had a few people get murdered and I've had a few suicides, but it's rare and I remember all of them.
Right. But not contentious.
Sometimes, I don't know with the suicides, I don't know.
That's all.
Thank you.
Redirect examination.
Briefly, Your Honor.
Wild, guys, just wild. So I don't know that we really need to
You may.
watch.
Ms. Adamson, I'm going to approach and show you.
Adam.
I'm sorry.
And he fumbles it. He takes forever and then he fumbles it. I mean, it's like she ends cross that way. You've got her on the stand and it's really awkward and like, what is going on? And she clearly is like, doesn't like, she's holding back information. And then he takes forever, lets her be up on the stand like that. And then finally starts to speak. And it's like, I'm sorry. And it's like, oh my God, dude, what a disaster. So now though, I think we're going to jump to everyone's favorite, which is the next witness. Okay, so this is outside the presence of the jury. Let me see. I don't remember what they talk about here. Let's just see.
Very capable court reporter. Does everyone review the transcript at this point?
Yes, sir.
Please make your argument.
I mean, I think it's clear from the totality of this that I am agreeing for their experts to review the testimony of other experts and that in reference to lay witnesses, experts are not going to listen to the testimony of lay witnesses.
Mr. Zolman.
Judge, on page 62, we specifically said Linda Bailey would like to be able to observe Kristin Adamson's testimony when she
Oh,
testifies.
right.
And I address our forensic expert to share.
Okay, so now I remember what was going on here because Linda Bailey was present for all that testimony, which that was a whole thing. You know, they end up saying it's fine. We're going to just roll with it. Is this still outside the jury's presence? Hold on here. Okay.
Why
Judge,
should this witness be permitted to testify?
Judge, the prior page specifically says that Linda Bailey would like to be able to observe Kristin Adamson's testimony when she testifies.
You brought this up, yes. But the state made no agreement as to anything about it.
Yeah, this was insane.
Judge, with respect to the context and the statements, you are obviously asking that.
It's in black and white. I know what he asked. What happened though is
Shit.
the opposite of that. As to that, what is your argument now?
Your Honor, exclusion of a witness is an extreme remedy, as you recognized previously. We took the court's this conversation to authorize Ms. Bailey to be present during Kristin Adamson's testimony. And that is what we advised the witness when we spoke with her later in the week. But for this conversation, we would not have done that.
This is the second time in this trial where a defense witness has been in the courtroom inappropriately in violation of the rules of illustration. When this was addressed at sidebar, you brought up the topic, but the state only agreed as it related to your expert reviewing an adverse expert, their expert's testimony. That has not been the case today. Why have you not been more careful with this individual or even brought up this topic to make sure we did not end up in this point and place?
Right.
Judge, we thought we adequately addressed it last
Yeah,
week.
they had, dude, this was just wild. It's like a second time they had this problem. Right. And so she's like, yeah, look, it already happened. We didn't ask for any exclusion, but it happened again. Like, I couldn't fucking believe it, guys, when this, I was like, what? How are they this much of a mess, man? And there she is,
That's some testimony for a reason.
standing there.
Our expert requested it, yes.
As it relates to what you just read in that passage, how the
Sorry.
witness's testimony
Yeah.
somehow would have changed or affected.
I think the only way to determine that is to speak with Ms. Bailey concerning.
Okay, so they're just going to bring her up and ask her if it's going to influence her testimony. She's going to say no. Great. All right, now we're going to get into this. We're not going to, we'll just see what we can tolerate here. But again, this is something that this is one of a kind testimony right here that'll live in my memory forever.
For the testimony you're about to
I
give,
just couldn't fucking, dude.
be the truth.
I do.
You may take your seat. You may examine as you're ready.
This lady, though. I just don't even know. Crazy.
Good morning. Can you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Yeah, my name is Linda Bailey, and I'm a family law attorney here in Tallahassee.
Tell us briefly about your educational background.
My post-high school educational background is I have a bachelor's in psychology from Florida State University in 1983. I worked for a couple of years and went back to law school in 1985.
We're going to skip past all this.
Approximately how many family law cases you've handled since then?
Oh, right. And this goes on forever. And again, I'm remembering it now, like all the filibustering, they go on and on and on. It's wild. If I recall, it's like he spent so much time on her background. It's like more than you, like, it's just crazy. Okay. Okay, now we're going to get to one of my favorite things here. Well, there's among others. There's a lot of favorite things. This whole thing about her friendship and relationship with the previous witness.
Was 17. I don't know if they were comprehensive because they were provided to me.
Did you also speak with Ms. Adamson concerning her representation of Wendi Adelson?
I did. I spoke to her for about an hour a couple of weeks
And you were just watching all her testimony. Of course, that's going to come out.
ago to kind of confirm my impression of some of the motions that were filed.
Confirm her impression. No, ma'am. Like, this is, I will say that her saying that it really does show that it didn't even matter that she witnessed the testimony, because clearly you were going to make sure that you were in agreement and in alignment with how you were going to testify anyway, regardless of whether you saw that testimony or not. Like this just shows like they were going to, like, this is wild. Nah.
They were provided to me.
Did you also speak with Ms. Adamson concerning her representation of Wendi Adelson?
I did. I spoke to her for about an hour a couple of weeks ago to kind of confirm my impression of some of the motions that were filed.
Confirm. Like, confirmation
Now,
bias.
you indicated that you
This is
reviewed the
wild.
court file. When was the dissolution of marriage action begun?
It was begun with a petition filed actually by Wendi, which she had a lawyer, Shannon Novi, for a brief period of time, and then she switched to Kristin Adamson. So I reviewed that petition, and that was filed mid-September 2012.
Did Wendi Adelson, in that process, file a motion for the court to determine a temporary parenting schedule?
Yeah, just about a month after the initial petition, she filed a motion for the court to order a temporary parenting plan, which is normal, so you don't have chaos pending a final resolution.
So that the filing of that motion is a typical step in a dissolution of marriage that involves children.
Well, it's very routine because what you don't want is both parents showing up to school, picking up the kid on the same day, and the kid doesn't know where they're going, and it creates a lot of stress for the children if they don't have a plan. So it's important for the parties to get together early on and figure out what they're going to do until the court can make a final ruling.
And what specifically was Wendi Adelson's request in that temporary parenting plan concerning time sharing?
She asked for a plan that would provide 51% of the time to her and 49% to Mr. Markel, which at the time, it was much more traditional, if you will, for there to be a primary parent and a secondary parent. And it was thought at that time that having a child more solidly in one household versus splitting the 50-50 was more advantageous for the child. That thinking has now changed, where there's a presumption of 50-50, but back in 2011-12 time period, she had initially filed for majority time sharing, which was
She's already trying to justify and make excuses for why 5 wanted the 51%.
ordinary. But then actually in her motion for temporary parenting, she asked for a 59-41, which is 51-49, which is essentially 50-50.
Well, no,
Why
it's not.
would one party ask for 51-49?
Really, the only reason I can think of would be for an IRS tax advantage, so you'd be able to claim the children on taxes.
To claim them as dependent?
As dependents, yes.
There it is. So it's not just 50-50. It's just the 51% versus the 49. It's for fucking money reasons because it's fucking Bible.
Or head of household?
I guess.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
that's disgusting.
Now, you indicated that a lot of times these issues, it's important to establish them early on. Did Wendi Adelson and Mr. Markel have to go in front of the judge to get a temporary parenting plan put in place?
No, they worked that out on themselves, by themselves, or through counsel.
So they worked out an arrangement that was beneficial for the kids and allowed them to have timeshare.
Yes, my understanding is they worked out a 50-50 arrangement.
Now, we're using the term timeshare. We also have here in the trial heard the term custody.
Okay, we're skipping this. This was just grueling. The way she goes on and on and on about the timeshare. I can't listen to that again. That was bad enough the first time. We're gonna skip ahead.
Often during her time sharing, he wanted to have a great deal of contact. He wanted video contact, things like that. And so, and I think there was maybe a recommendation, I could be confusing this with a later motion, where the
Well, then don't say
child care owner had made a recommendation about something and he wanted to enforce the recommendation from the owner of the child care. None of those were enforceable because they'd never been ordered by court or even put into any sort of formal document. So that was denied.
So let me understand correctly, he was asking for court authorization to be able to go over to Wendy's house?
In that particular motion, I could look at my notes, but I don't remember exactly the detail. Ordinarily, when you file a motion for enforcement, you have a portal.
Okay, first of all, you can't just look at your notes. And now she's just going off on a whole thing. Again, this is that thing, the thing of like, here, I'm going to tell the jury about something that has no relevance. Ordinarily, when you file, the jury doesn't care. We're going to skip ahead a little bit. It is brutal, but the cross is just makes it all well worth it, doesn't it, when we get there? Again, we're back to getting the parent. So he's trying to get her back on track with the parenting plan, I guess.
Do you add the relocation? It was brief. Most relocation cases take 2 years or so to get to trial.
As of the final judgment of dissolution on July 31st, 2013, would it be your opinion that this case was in any way unusual or highly contentious?
Here we go.
No, to the contrary, it was settled amicably, and
Yes, great.
everybody was moving on with their lives.
It was amicable, guys. It was amicable.
During the underlying litigation, so between September of 2012 and July
Incredible.
31st of 2013, when it was when the final judgment was entered, did either party file a motion to compel against the other?
No, and what that is if you're upset with the other side because they're not providing either the required financial documents that Ms. Adamson spoke about earlier, or if you do a request to produce more documents and they don't comply, then you would file a motion for the court to compel them to provide those documents.
And that's what we call discovery.
Correct.
Were there discovery fights here?
No, there were no discovery fights. There was afterwards when.
Oh my God. This is all going to be very relevant, especially in Fible's trial, because again, with Stephen Webster, what we learned from his interview was that this whole thing that was the sticking point for Wendi, and remember there was a deadline of July 18th. It wasn't a motion to compel. It was a request for admissions. So it's like this question is like it's gaslighting basically, because it's like trying to make it seem like the big issue was a motion to compel, but there weren't any motions to compel that were going to be filed. That was not the problem. The problem was the request for admissions as to her financial assets. That was the sticking dot. That was the document. That was the end of the whole thing. Where Stephen Webster was like all but certain that Wendi was gonna start like claiming abuse and all this and that to try to find a way around it. To try so that she wouldn't have to turn over those financial documents because of why? The fraud. Fievel gets disbarred. Fievel goes potentially to prison. So yeah.
Mr. Markel's lawyer was trying to depose Wendi about the money he had not paid, but prior to July 31st, there were no discovery fights at all. There were, I think, requests to produce, and there was no motion to compel or any complaint about responses to those. I didn't see any third-party subpoenas to banks or holding companies or brokerage accounts or brokerage companies.
Can you explain to the jury what a third-party subpoena is?
Yeah. So, for example, if you believe that a party has an asset that they're not disclosing, and if you know, in general, sometimes we do kind of blanket ones, but generally, if you know where those documents might be held, whether it's Fidelity or Wells Fargo or Bank of America, then you can do a subpoena. You do a notice first, and then you have to wait 10 days, and then you can issue the subpoena directly to the bank or the person holding those records and ask them to provide you the records directly, so you don't have to get them from the other party. So oftentimes, not oftentimes, sometimes we'll have parties who just don't cooperate. They don't provide anything. We know they have retirement accounts. I have one right now, and he will not give us his retirement account because he does not want it split. So we are having to send third-party subpoenas out to all his prior employers to get his retirement records because he's just not doing it. So it's an easier way to get those records than finding him directly.
And so in that type of scenario, you'd have to first subpoena his records from prior employers in order to get the names of the retirement companies, correct?
If I need to do that, they could be company-held employment plans, depending on what kind of company,
We don't
But
need
potentially in that scenario
don't
where you're
need to
having to
know.
issue third-party subpoenas, there are multiple layers that you might have to go through in order to get the information that the other party is not providing.
No, it's really more direct than that. I mean, once you file your notice of intent to subpoena a third party, you issue your subpoena to that party. The difficulty comes if you don't know who the party is. Then you might have to take a deposition and find out where somebody's been working.
Oh, like a
Generally,
secret
your
account?
client knows where their spouse worked, so you have that information in that example. But there could be, like we have a case right now where there's like 140 something real estate properties all over the country. That makes it more difficult, obviously. So we're having to go into databases.
Thing,
all
and
over
this
the-
makes me really uncomfortable how both her and the other attorney talk about their current cases, like many of them, like dozens of them. You don't have to say we have a case right now. Like, it's just not good. You're not supposed to be doing that. And I understand she's not giving like she's not giving any like specific details, right? To where it's like going to be, privacy issues or attorney-client privilege, but still you can make the point, whatever the point is. The point is pointless. Whatever the pointless point is that she's trying to make, and same with the other lady, they could have made those without also indicating that it was a current client of theirs, right? They could have just said, as an example, and then da-da-da-da-da, whatever nonsense bullshit. Instead of, we have a case right now. It's like, oh, so now you're just disclosing your client's case. I mean, if somebody really wanted to, they could find out who the client is, right? I mean, it's just not, it added to the list of reasons why my mind was just repeatedly blown up over and over again by both the previous witness and this witness. I'm just like, what is happening? How can they be so experienced and da-da-da? And like that's so basic. Just you don't have to say it can be a current client. You don't have to say it's a current client. It's just, it makes my skin crawl. It's not your
country, different states to look for people and then find out who the management company is and then third party subpoena the management company. But that's an outlier.
Needless to say, you didn't have to do any of that, or none of that had to be done for Wendi Adelson's divorce.
None of that happened.
What about non-party depositions?
We're going to skip this part. Northwest, it'll be so worth it though when we get to the cross, because we're not watching the whole thing, and we're just. I'm really especially want to hear the part where they talk about the finances. This part though is where this is just really offensive how she talks about these filings from Dan Markel. Again, it's gratuitous. She did not need to do this. Another thing I was thinking to myself too, right at the time, was like, what is the deal? Like, what is it with these two attorneys? So I'm thinking to myself, they're really providing testimony that's like very biased, right, towards supporting Wendi and bad towards Dan Markel. And it's like, what? You know what I mean? Like, I'm like thinking to myself, why on earth? Like they don't have any reason to be loyal to Wendi, right? And then as this went along, I just kept thinking to myself, I have to wonder if their desire is really more about their own egos and sounding smart to where they don't even really care, like, if it's biased or not. Like, that wasn't the priority. But also, I wonder too if some of this was because they both hated Dan Markel because of how much, again, he was fighting hard in these pleadings, right? The previous witness, he was alleging that she was involved with fraud, which seems like is accurate. But like this witness, the fight that she has for Dan Markel here is next level. And like also just all the couching. It's like she doesn't have a good enough reason to be as biased as she is. So the only thing I can think of is it's just to try to come across as the expertiest expert and like I'm right and everybody else is wrong just because of ego. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think if you have any thoughts on that.
Signed by his lawyer, but they were consistent throughout all the lawyers. So it appeared that he was drafting them were very, very wordy and full of hyperbole.
In that same vein, the lawyers that represented him, have you litigated?
Very, very wordy. Ironic, right? Because I think the word that you're looking for, ma'am, is verbose, right? Among others. Y'all feel free to give other examples. She's like, they were very, very, very wordy. It's like, yeah, and you, maybe for you, because clearly you can't think of a vocab word there. And full of hyperbole. Okay, well done on the hyperbole, but like, really? Very, very, very wordy. Usually, again, if you're an attorney where you're drafting all these pleadings, you should have words that you can use. Like you should have a vocabulary. Verbose, frivolous, what else? Overwrought. I think in terms of being wordy, though, verbose might be the best one. Yeah, voluminous. Very, very, very wordy. It's like how my little nephew would describe it.
Opposite them in the past?
My little nephew would actually be able to come up with an actual vocab word. He would probably use the word verbose.
The pleadings that they signed on Mr. Markel's behalf, are those consistent with the pleadings that you've seen them author in the past?
No, it appeared to me that Mr. Markel was drafting these pleadings because they just weren't drafted in a way you would draft them. And they didn't, again, make sense. They were internally inconsistent. For example, moving up to the February timeframe, he was complaining about fraud by Wendi Adelson and not disclosing accounts as if that impacted the settlement. But then he said, very shortly or in the same near paragraph that he knew she had these accounts because he managed one of them. And he knew about the other account as well. So all he had to do was do third-party subpoenas to Schwab. He knew the Schwab account existed.
So again, it's different now. I think that what Dan was saying is the reason he knows she's hiding assets is because she had other accounts that she was hiding that he discovered. And it's like, if there's 3 of them, there's probably 7 of them, as an example, right? That's what he would have meant by that. But this is just, it's like the way she's just so defensive, like in defending Wendi and talking bad about Dan is just wild.
It's easy. And so you can't say fraud. I made a decision without knowing. And then in the next paragraph said, but I knew these accounts existed. That's why I know she's committing fraud.
Okay. So in reviewing
Right,
those,
you know they existed because you discovered them, but she was hiding them before, and she's hiding other ones currently at the time of his death. Dude,
particular motions, the one that he filed February of 2014, what was your opinion about the strength of that being granted?
Well, Wendi filed a motion for enforcement at the end of October 31st, I believe, 2013, which complained about the $80,000 or so. I think there was some question whether he paid $50,000 or $51,000 or $52,000. But anyway, he was essentially just around $80,000 underpaid. He hadn't paid his obligation. So she filed a motion at the end of October. Then there was
I think we're getting to the part where she's like $80,000 is not a lot of money. Maybe
no
here.
response. Nothing. His lawyer withdrew. There was nothing in November. There was nothing in December. Then January 31st, so 3 months later, he filed a response that basically said, he didn't deny not paying, but he said, her bad behavior, her unclean hands, give me a valid excuse for not paying her, essentially is what he said. And that is not legally, I don't think it was a very strong legal position.
Okay, and we'll come back. We'll come back to that.
Okay.
I want to back up to the June 21st hearing when
And I don't think they do come back to that, but here's how I interpret that. Because he knew she was hiding assets and committing fraud, but because he didn't know about all the hidden accounts because they're hidden, he can't prove it. So essentially, this to me reads like, you know that she's not paying her fair share because she's hiding assets, right? So but you can't prove it at that juncture. Had he not been killed, maybe he would have been able to. It sounds like that was in the works. And so instead, it's like, you know, you want to give a different reason to justify the fact that, you know, it's not right. You know, she's not paying her fair share, right? And so he goes with the bad behavior, which I'm sure also was true, right? Who would ever doubt that Fievel was being a piece of shit, right?
was denied.
Mm-hmm.
Did my client in the emails review appear to push back on Wendi and try to get her to do certain things?
Well, what I saw from what I was provided in the hearing, I think was on the 21st, and there was a couple of days, maybe the 23rd through 26th, something like that, where Donna Adelson, maybe the reality of the relocation had set in, the denial, and she was upset. So she was sending emails going like, how can we undo this? Or is it possible to undo this? And then Wendi responded, I think at the end of that, Mom, I'm at peace, I'm good. And then they dropped off. There was no more communication that I saw
And then
between them.
certainly after the July 31st final judgment, was there anything else where relocation was attempted or discussed?
Not that I saw.
Yeah. You know why? Because it was
And when you were
because he was fucking murdered.
representing clients, how do you handle the involvement of their parents or loved ones in your client's divorce?
If I know that they are very involved, I'll ask to meet with them and bring them in, because what I don't want is our third parties interfering with my advice, frankly. So if they misunderstand the law or they're giving advice to my client contrary to my advice, then I want to talk to them. I want to hear their point of view, and I want to give them my point of view. And I find it's easier for my client to have everybody around them on the same page. So I just want to educate them. If it's a mediation and I feel like they're involved, I'll ask them.
I just want to educate them. It's like, yeah. You know, the other thing too, I guess that I wonder if Wendi and Dan didn't have a prenup, right? Because the thing is like the text messages that go back and forth between like Wendi and Donna, or I can't remember if it's text messages or emails or probably both, but they're talking about like her other accounts. I think maybe Charlie gets involved as well. It's like, these are accounts that she had. Anyway, it's their accounts he doesn't know about, right? It sounds like it's like trust funds or something that like inheritance. It's like they mentioned there's at least one that's worth $500,000. And like, if you had a prenup, that would have been found out before the marriage. You know what I mean? I guess, well, having said that, unless she was hiding it then too, in which case that's double the fraud. Anyway, yeah.
The other side, if I can bring the mother or the brother, whatever, whoever it is, into the mediation, because if they're in the mediation process, then they see how it changes over the course.
Okay, we can go forward here. She's just talking about family members, offering advice. She's going to tell them she knows better, you know. Parenting plan again with this, whatever. And then the bit about eating kosher. Okay. Keeping the boys kosher. I'm skipping. I'm not trying to torture anybody, just so we're skipping ahead a little bit here. Oh, the video calls. Okay.
No.
Was Wendi Adelson, throughout the litigation, requesting that the boys be available nightly for her to speak with them when they were with their father?
No.
Was Mr. Markel granted every Jewish holiday?
No, I think he had requested that, but he was not. They alternated the Jewish holidays.
Was Wendi Adelson required to continue counseling with Mr. Markel and follow the advice of
The other thing that's annoying is a lot of these questions should have been asked to the previous witness because they're specific to the divorce case. Who the previous witness was the attorney. Like that question about the Jewish holidays, right? Like, yeah, why would you not just ask that of the actual attorney who was responsible for figuring all that shit out?
No, and that would be an improper order. The court can't delegate decision-making to a third party like a therapist. The court can't say, you need to go to your therapist and follow their advice.
Was Wendi Adelson required, pursuant to the settlement agreement, to equally split time on each of her children's birthday with Mr. Markel?
No, there was a general provision that each parent would get some time on birthdays.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead a little bit. Okay, now they're talking about, okay, hold on. Now we're getting back to assets.
Well, there's a disparity between assets and income. So
Okay.
it can be assets or income or assets and income. I think in this situation, Mr. Markel's income was twice or so Wendy's, and his assets, from what I understand, including the non-marital assets, were more substantial than Ms. Adelson's.
In your opinion, was the marriage settlement agreement that was incorporated into the final judgment favorable to Wendi Adelson?
Yeah, yes.
Now, later,
It was very fair. It was measured. I
No
say that
question
favorable only because he
pending,
was asking for
bitch.
things
Weird now.
that would have made it
No.
unfavorable and that were unusual requests. And at the end of the day, he gave up on
It's just though.
those, and they got a very typical marital settlement agreement.
so from
Who cares?
September of 2012 until the final judgment, July of 2013, as far as the litigation is concerned, it was not very contentious.
Not at all.
Now,
You guys.
after July 31st of 2013, did either side file any enforcement actions?
Just the 3 months later,
Okay, we're gonna skip ahead a little bit more. I can't wait till we get to cross. Oh, and here's the bit about the jail time where she goes on and on about that, if I recall. Or it might be later. At some point, she goes on and on. Again, it's not relevant. There's no point in any of it. And again, talking about a client. I mean, I had a client pay. It makes me feel nauseous, like I could throw up. Why? Can you imagine being one of these clients she's talking about? Like, this is insanity. You don't have to say that. You could just say as an example and then give the example. Like, it's just ridiculous. Again, she's saying it was amicable. Great. We're moving right along here. The more we move along, the closer we get to cross. Oh, but this is maybe the best part of direct. Okay, look at that blunt force trauma binder, guys. Okay. But you know what? This is the best part. That's right. That's right. Okay, now we need to watch this because this is not even Wendy's blunt force trauma binder. Okay, let's go.
so I can enforce on that judgment, however that may be. It's just a collections issue.
You indicated that you don't think it was there. It would be helpful to see the pleading itself.
Sure.
May I approach the witness?
I don't.
Specifically, page 338. Is that the October 31st, 2013 motion that Ms. Adamson filed?
It
Okay,
is.
never mind. This is Wendy's case because at some point it goes next level. Look at her glasses though.
Okay.
That is Wendy's. Just clear. That is Wendy's blunt force trauma binder.
Body of the motion, does it seek anything concerning contempt?
Oh my God! Look at this. This right here. Her pose and then the captions, which is called a wherefore clause, and it's like, oh my God, dude. You already know. We already know where this is going. Oh, the poor jury. The poor jury. Oh my God. She goes on and on and on here. It's they're trying way too hard to make it seem like there's not the whole thing about the contempt. It's just.
In the scheme of this dissolution and the circumstances of this case, was the amount of money that Ms. Adelson was seeking through this enforcement motion an enormous amount?
I didn't view it that way. I viewed it as kind of an annoyance that she had to go through these hoops to get the money because he had the money and he owed the money, but it wasn't going to put her out on the street.
Did you believe, is your opinion, that that motion for enforcement that was filed on October 31st, 2013 had merit?
Absolutely.
And what were the possible repercussions to Mr. Markel?
He would have to pay more. He'd have to pay more in fees and more in statutory interest and more to his lawyer to fight it. That was it.
Were you provided with a series of emails in mid-December of 2013 where Mr. Markel emailed the parenting coordinator and Wendi Adelson complaining about a host of issues?
I did.
Okay. Was one of those issues one where the boys allegedly said that grandma referred to him as stupid?
Yes, he brought that complaint up to the parenting coordinator and to Wendi in the same email in December 18th, maybe, of 2013.
From your review of that correspondence, what did he want to happen?
My recollection is he was asking Wendi to be mindful of that and to be alert and make sure it didn't happen.
Did he ask that my client not be around the children unsupervised?
Donna Adelson, no, he did not ask for that relief.
According to what you reviewed, when did those quote stupid events allegedly occur?
According to the email, he said there were 2 or 3 occasions in November where the kid said something like, "Grandma thinks you're stupid," or something like that.
Did Mr. Markel file any action, any motions or supplemental petitions in November or December of 2013?
Related to that allegation?
Yes.
No.
Now, the motion for enforcement filed October 31st, when was that set for
Halloween, guys, Halloween.
hearing?
It was initially set for hearing in February, and
Add that to my timeline.
I believe that was set in December, and it was the certificate of service, which is the bottom of the motion. You file a certificate.
Oh, for fuck's sake, lady. I mean, at least she's explaining it versus just glossing over it like she has all the other legal terms, but they don't need to know what it is.
Says where you have sent this document, to whom you sent this document, and it went to Mr. Adelson's new lawyer in December.
Mr. Markel?
I'm sorry, Mr. Markel's new lawyer in December. And then nothing happened. All of January went and nothing was filed. And then the end of January, which at this point is 3 months after the motion was filed, a response was filed. And then the response basically said, yes, I owe the money, but I don't have to pay it because Wendi had these other financial violations. And then she referred to the Schwab account that you've heard about, a retirement account, I think. And then 2 weeks later, I think it's February 14th, he filed a motion for contempt against Wendi. In that February 14th, it was kind of a companion document to the January 31st response. Again, he would do multiple filings on the same issues. He again just addressed, but a little more.
She says again, she says, so which means this has been, or she's already said it. If you've already said it, then why do you need to repeat it?
Vehemently the allegations of financial fraud. It was only a financially focused document.
What defense did he claim to have to avoid paying Wendi Adelson as he'd been ordered?
My recollection is his defense was that she did not put on her financial affidavit a certain non-marital asset, but he knew that asset existed, but it was fraud. It was kind of circular. And there was.
That's not circular. And we have so much more context for this now. So she's actually tested. So this, guys, we didn't know this at the time. Remember, in Fievel's trial, this can come in. This is all evidence. Remember, they can't use Fievel's testimony in her own trial unless it's for like impeachment purposes or if she commits perjury. But again, they weren't using Fievel's testimony to convict Fievel. All the other testimony is fair game, including this. Oh my God. Let me back that up. Wow.
To avoid paying Wendi Adelson as he'd been ordered?
My recollection is his defense was that she did not put on her financial affidavit a certain non-marital asset, but he knew that asset existed, but it was fraud. It was kind of circular. And there was, he said he didn't have a updated document at the time of the marital settlement agreement or something like that to know what the then value was. But those are all pre-divorce issues. So he had ample opportunity during the divorce to do third-party subpoenas or motions to compel or other ways to get those documents. And then according to Chris, all of those were dealt with in the marital settlement agreement anyway, and I don't have any reason to doubt that. But yeah, he was just trying to say one good breach deserves another or something like that, and it wasn't legally supportable.
That's not a valid defense.
Pardon?
That's not a valid defense.
I wouldn't make that defense, no.
Okay. Now, if a party in an action believes that there has been fraud in the underlying, securing the underlying agreement, is there a way in which they can contest that?
There is. If you're alleging fraud, and if it's fraud in the financial affidavit, you don't even have to do it within the first year. But there's a rule that Ms. Adamson referred to. It's called 12.540, and that's where you can move to set aside the marital settlement agreement based on fraud. So if you find out later that they had won the lottery before you didn't disclose, or that they had some stash of gold bars somewhere or whatever, you can come back in and say they didn't disclose that. But it has to be material. And so the case law is pretty clear that the fraud has to be.
Yeah, so like over $500,000.
An actual fraud that impacted the agreement. For example, I think there's one case that talks about maybe there was a minor $3,000 to $5,000.
Yeah, not applicable here. Irrelevant. Fucking irrelevant.
tiny IRA or something like that that was never disclosed. They just had forgotten about it. It was very small in relation to the rest of the assets. And the court said that didn't really impact anything, that we're not going to set aside an agreement based upon that.
In other words, it's a high hurdle.
Sure, and
overcome.
it had impacted you. In this instance, it was clear from Mr. Markel's own motions, he knew about these assets. So I think his fraud allegation.
Again, I would just have to reiterate, just like with the previous witness, it seems clear to me that she knows. Like, it's so much about trying to head off the fraud. It's clear that both of these defense attorneys knew that this was happening, because it's just too much. Like, it's too many excuses. It's too much couching. It's too many caveats. And it's not in ways that are logical, and they're contradicting themselves, and man, wild.
Was completely baseless.
Now, in some of his emails and filings, he was asking for 100% time sharing, more restrictions, more access to the kids. Did he ever present a proper pleading to the court to try to get those things?
No. What happened was he did a January 31st response, and then he did the motion against Wendi on the financial issues February 14th. And then towards the very end of March 26th, after Kristin had filed a motion to dismiss his fraud motion as being a sham pleading, essentially, I guess he kind of ramped it up a little bit. So he filed a motion complaining about parenting.
And so she's calling it a sham pleading. It was not a sham pleading, but she's just trying to get that narrative in there. Wild. Okay, I know it's torture. I'm going to go ahead a little bit. I'm updating my timeline though for all the Halloween related events are going to be orange on my timeline here. Okay, now the right of first refusal, because the way she defines it is like completely not accurate here.
Oh gosh, there's right of first refusal. He didn't like that when his parents would come to town, that she would maybe go dinner with friends and let them spend time with the kids, or she would let them.
Sorry, I just let me pause. Dude, it's late. Pause it real quick. CC became a new member. I was updating my timeline, so I didn't see all these. Why can't I pull this up? Did StreamYard change something? Hold on. There we go. Thank you so much, CC. I love it. And welcome on in, James. Happy to see you. What's in the pic beside your name? So you know how you get the badges when you become a member for a channel? Channels get to pick what they want their badges to be. You can just do the YouTube standard ones or whatever, or you can choose your own. So the pictures that you should be able to see beside your name, I chose my own badges, and it's squirrels of the world, because we always talk about the squirrels of the world. So we've got like a new member squirrel, and then it's like when you've been a member for 1 month, you get a 1 month squirrel, and then it's like 2 months and 3 months and 6 months. So each one there's a different squirrel of the world for each length of time for your badges. Hopefully you guys love it. I think it's probably the squirrel that's poking up from behind the tree. It's a red squirrel, if I recall correctly. I can't see it on StreamYard, but if I recall correctly. Oh, and actually, let me just take a look. Oh yeah, no, sorry. I'm over here on YouTube. Yeah, I can see. So CC, your squirrel badge there, that's a black squirrel. That's a black squirrel. Kitsmits has got I think that's like an Asian squirrel on Kitsmits is there. And also we do have the poll. I guess I'll end the poll because he's long gone. I forgot about the poll. Okay, so I was just updating my timeline, so I'm just getting caught up here on what y'all are saying. Where was it? I just saw something from Kitsmits. Hold on, where to go? Hang on here. Yeah, Kitsmits, have you seen Stephen Webster's interview that and again, you can watch it on STS, or you can watch, we broke it down on the last live stream. It's not potential fraud. He doesn't mince words at all. She was going down. It's a motive we had no idea existed. It'll blow your fucking mind. It's like, this would have been the anomaly if it was the one case that didn't have a huge money motive. Well, yeah, it's not the anomaly. And dude, you gotta watch it. Anyone that hasn't watched it needs to watch it. It's like Northwest said it earlier, for people who were kind of on the fence, wondering if they would have enough to charge Wendi. This was like, after this interview, it was like, okay, like people that were on the fence or thinking that, or even on the fence to the extent that they thought Wendy's not going to be like it, mind changing. It's like, okay, next fucking level. Yeah, the fraud file, like, here's the thing. The deadline for Wendi to comply with responding to the request for admissions was July 18th. That was the deadline. And that's why Stephen Webster was calling Dan the day of the murder, because it was July 18th and he was about to fucking file it. And he was trying to get in touch with him about filing it. That was the deadline. It's major. It's so fucking major. Happy Annie's back. And how is work going? Are you done with work? Let us know. Okay.
From school, so her parents could spend time with them, and they were little babies. And he didn't like that because he wanted to be able to go to the child.
So the way she says, dude, the way she says they were little babies. You know why she's saying that? She's trying to make it seem like, why would you want to spend time with them when they're little babies? It's just, she's like minimizing it. They're little babies. Like, y'all, hang on. Listen to her tone here. Like, what is, I bet this woman does not have kids.
Wendy's parents would come to town, that she would maybe go to dinner with friends and let them spend time with the kids. Or she would let them stay home from school so her parents could spend time with them. And they were little babies. And
see her face there? She's like, the kids aren't even gonna remember. They're just little babies. So it doesn't matter. Like, unreal. Wow.
he didn't like that because he wanted to be able to go to the childcare during her parenting time.
God forbid he want to spend time with his little babies, quote unquote. What the fuck, dude?
So he could see them every day. And I think the childcare person had asked him.
I don't think
not
she
to
has
do that,
kids.
but he wanted to do that. And he wanted her to go to like a therapist and follow the therapist's advice on basically doing what he wanted her to do. So it was a lot of noise trying to enforce something that wasn't a provision to enforce. There was no underlying court order to enforce.
And is that the pleading that Ms. Adamson filed a motion to dismiss about?
That may have been, I was thinking she filed it against her February 14th, but I could look at my notes and clarify if you like.
No one cares. We're going to skip ahead a little bit here. Her stupid notes. She does. By the way, she doesn't ask the court permission. Another thing to add to the list. She doesn't ask the court permission, and neither does he. She says, I can look at my notes and fucking pulls her notes out. Like, who does she think she is? Dr. Hughes from Debbie Heard? It's just too much for me, man. We're going to go ahead a little bit. Ugh. Okay.
He brought up the stupid allegation from November, and this was the end of March. So I didn't see anything in his allegations that had any recent problems with him being disparaged or by anybody calling him any names. So he mentioned that. I think it was his 8 of 10 points in that mission.
Was it in that pleading that he was asking for sole decision-making authority?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Would there have been a basis for the court to grant that?
No, he would have had to go through that supplemental petition that we talked about earlier, where he would have had to show material and substantial change in circumstances and that it was in the best interest. And there's no indication he would have been successful there. And he didn't plead it correctly anyway.
Now, with respect to the...
I mean, he didn't plead it correctly anyway. Who wants to strangle her, you guys? Okay, first of all, let me back this up. Second of all, thank you so much for reminding me, Dr. Welcher. Yeah, so you had Dr. Hughes, but then you had Dr. Welcher with all the props. What did he have? Like a hat, a laptop? Like, he took it so much further. It's like, I brought all these props. Like, what? Okay, now we're going to go back to this offensiveness.
Petition that we talked about earlier, where he would have had to show material and substantial change in circumstances and that it was in the best interest. And there's no indication he would have been successful there. And he didn't plead it correctly anyway.
It's not relevant. What? It's just mind-blowing. This is the victim of a murder. And this is not relevant. It's like she's just taking every chance she has to, we know what it is. It's like her clause, her defense, or her divorce attorney clause are coming out. It's like, it's almost as if she's experiencing the divorce against him and she's fighting him. Like, there's no reason for her to have this much vitriol. Like, this is wild. You know what I mean? It's like she's just taking every chance she can to just talk shit about him the way that you would if he was alive and you were actually litigating this, which she never did because she's just the quote unquote hired expert.
Now, with respect to the complaint about my client allegedly saying that she hated Dan Markel or she called him stupid, was that allegation a feature of his motion?
No, it was buried, like I said, 8 points down, 8, 10, 12 pages down.
Just a few paragraphs of his motion?
Yeah, 3 paragraphs.
Was there any indication that those claims were true?
No, and I don't think he could have proven that because he's talking about what purportedly a 4-year-old may have said to him. And I think even in this motion, he says, I don't know if this is true or not. I don't know if Wendi was present or not, but I would like Wendi to make it stop if it's true.
Did the grant this motion, March 26, 24?
We're going ahead a little bit. Oh my God. Okay, this part though, this part, the right of first refusal. Yeah.
He wanted Wendy to have to call him so he could watch the kids, even though mom's there to watch them, which that's not the purpose of a first right of refusal.
I was just about to ask that. What is the purpose of that?
Well, the purpose is if a parent is unavailable and can't provide care for a child, then you offer the other parent the first right to take care of the child. It's not if my rule, or what I tell my clients is if you can't make it to the hospital, if you can't meet the ambulance at the hospital, it's a first right of refusal. You need to have a parent available who can take care of any emergency. It's not to prevent the kids from having sleepovers or spending nights.
This is completely inaccurate, and everyone that's commented on this, I mean, it's like, that's not what it is. For example, we know Wendi relied on her parents to use Donna's word, babysit all the time. Like, she just didn't want to, I don't know what she's doing, going out, whatever she's fucking doing, fiveling. And it's like calling on them to babysit. Right of first refusal would be ask Dan first. And if he's busy, then you call the parents or a babysitter like a normal person. She's just completely wrong. And yeah, totally. Kid Smith, I agree. She seems like she's the divorce lawyer you want on your side for a divorce, but she's a terrible one. 100%. And the other thing is, I totally agree. But the thing that's so weird is it's like she's like in this mindset. She can't get out of the mindset. Like the way that the way she's acting or testifying is as if she is the divorce lawyer on Wendy's side, and she's currently litigating against Dan as if Dan is still alive. Like she's fighting this as if it's an ongoing divorce case that she's an attorney on, and not like she's testifying at a murder trial where the other person involved in this divorce is dead. Like it's like she can't not be in the fighting and argumentative and just aggressive state of mind or something. You know what I mean? I wonder if she's just like this all the time. Like she's just so much like her job defines her so much that it's like, it comes home like, honey, if she's married, honey, what do you want for dinner? And it's like, she just launches into a whole thing. You know what I mean?
To grandma or, anything like that. That's a normal part of a kid's upbringing. And so you don't want them to never
Got
be able to
it,
spend with
guys.
grandma or never be able to go to a friend's house because they happen to be in a divorced family. Those are just decisions each parent makes within their own household. So a first right of refusal typically is triggered when the other parent is unavailable, out of town, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Wrong.
Now, have you ever seen a scenario where a court prohibited a
Bible went west, then north. I love it.
grandparent from having unsupervised time with their grandchild?
Only in one occasion I can think of, and he was a convicted child molester.
Hold on. This is like I said, the number of times I just repeatedly was and am shocked is shocking in and of itself. And this was another one of all the things. I don't
Ever seen a scenario where a court prohibited a grandparent from having unsupervised time with their grandchild?
Only in one occasion I can think of, and he was a convicted child molester.
y'all. It's just it's unspeakable. I mean, it's non-responsive. Again, she first answered the question with only one. That you could stop there, but she had to go and add that on. It's so, to me, this is so manipulative to the jury. Like, he was a convicted child. Like, why? Of all things. It's not it's so manipulative, guys. Who else just like was jarred out of their mind? Like when you're listening along, right? And then you hear that and who else was just like jarred into like a realm of like, now I've been pulled into a different realm. Like that happened to me when I listened to this, and happening again now. It's like, what the fuck?
What is your opinion about the persuasiveness of the March 26, 2014 motion that Mr. Markell filed?
I think it would have been similar to what Ms. Adamson described the judge saying in the middle of the relocation hearing, which is, don't file things like this. I don't think it would have been well taken by the judge at all, because it was a complete waste of everyone's time and money and emotion, because it was baseless. It didn't tie to anything.
Now, even if his allegations have been true, would the court have been permitted to modify the terms of the marriage settlement agreement based on his violence?
No.
Why?
You have to do a supplemental petition if you want to modify terms of the marriage settlement agreement. You can enforce terms, but you can't modify terms.
In reading the motion, does it appear to be intimidating?
No, I think when I was making notes, I put insert by role here. You know, it was a lot of words, and he was obviously wanting life to look like what he wanted it to look like, but that wasn't reality. So it's just a matter of breaking down each allegation and addressing them.
I just
Should
don't even.
Wendi Adelson or my client Donna Adelson have felt threatened, or would they have felt threatened based on that motion?
They shouldn't have, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to call Kristin, because again, when I read that motion, I was kind of taken aback that a lawyer would sign that and allow that to be filed.
Unreal.
And I thought it was kind of nonsense, and I wanted to
You
get.
know what I'm taken aback by? Among other things, these attorneys that are knowingly committing fraud. I'm taken aback by that. Among a million other things.
Kristin's take on that and see if she
I
agreed,
just-
and she did. And
No.
she said that she had advised Wendi about it. And that's what I would have expected from her.
Ugh.
In the emails or text messages that you reviewed, did you see any communication that indicated that my client Donna Adelson was aware of that March 26, 2014 motion?
No, not what I was provided. I saw early during the divorce period that Wendi had sent her mom a couple of documents. I know the petition for relocation that Donna helped.
Okay, we're going to go ahead a little bit, guys, for our own sanity. Ugh. Point 8, point this, everybody to behave. Okay, here we go. Great. Now we're back to this. This was just a friendly divorce. Excellent.
So we've talked about this not being
Can I CC?
a hotly contested
Thanks so much
case
for
or a
being
high
here.
conflict case. How many pages are in the court file?
I think there's
Oh my God, this is the box for this is the whole thing. This is where she gets, this is the one. This is the one. This is great. After this, we're going to go to cross. This is like the grand finale. Oh my God.
570. And again, a lot of those pages are kind of repetitive.
And that's just not true. That's not the entire file. And she even said at the beginning of her testimony, she didn't get the whole thing because we know that with Fievel on the stand, whenever they dropped that blunt force trauma binder, Wendi complains saying it's over 800 pages. And that's still not the entire file. So she's minimizing it. And also, just because we're talking about Fievel commenting on her own blunt force trauma binder.
It's very big.
Yeah, there you go. It's very big.
Documents filed by Mr. Markel that might say the same thing. Like he'll do a motion, then he'll do a memorandum that says the same thing, then he may do a response that says
It
the
is
same thing, or in different orders. So 570 though.
Nope.
Do you know
Just
how
wrong.
much
Just wrong.
attorney's fees Wendi Adelson incurred, attorney's fees and costs for the dissolution of marriage and the enforcement proceedings that began afterwards?
I only know what Ms. Adamson said, which is around $30,000.
Now, in your career, have you worked true high conflict custody cases?
I have.
In
Ugh.
particular, do any come to mind that involved an attempt to seek
Here we
relocation?
go.
Yes, I had a particularly conflictual relocation case that started in 2018 and went through 2021.
So about 3 years?
Okay, she's an expert. She's trained him to ask the questions poorly. She's trained him to ask the question the way he just did, which is, have you had? Why? He could be asking the question, are there? As in, do these cases exist? It's just so cringy.
Including an appeal.
Aaron, I show the witness the demonstrative.
You may.
So this is really funny because I think that what was happening here, because when this was happening at the time, I was like, why is the state not objecting? I think that they're just sort of like checked out for the moment because I was paying attention and I'm like, what? This is somebody else's case. This is a client of hers. And he's going to like, what? But they stop it here in a sec. Insanity. Insanity. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Vile display. Look, Jackie Fulford's over there laughing. She's probably laughing. She's like, why aren't they objecting yet? The one objection. I'll direct.
Only one. Only two.
But this is just completely inadmissible. And honestly, it's just.
Only three.
It's parading and what's the word I'm looking for? It's like peacocking a tragedy of a client of hers and their divorce and how awful it was. And look at all these filings because this divorce was in her, fit her definition of contentious. Imagine what this family was torn apart. And it's like putting it on display as a prop. It's just so exploitative and disgusting, and it's not even admissible.
Volume 4. Volume 5.
Is there a question?
We're relevant.
Do you recognize this file?
Yeah, is there a question for
Yes,
the
I think I
witness?
forwarded this to
Is there a question for the witness? No question pending yet again.
you.
And this are these 10 volumes, a example of a hotly contested relocation case.
Well, and I just count 500 pages per binder, so that looks to be about 5,000 pages. I think the actual pages were over 10,000, so this doesn't appear to be all of it.
Oh my God.
And there were 2 volumes on the record on appeal, so perhaps only one of those volumes got printed.
So the
Oh my God. Why?
clerk's file in the case that we're referring to as the demonstrative is twice as big as what we had in front of you.
Yes, based on just assuming 500 pages for Nova.
Thank you.
Please go on, Smith.
Oh my God.
Can you tell the jury what the issues were in that case?
And then this is great. I love this. He's asking another question and she's just like busy with these fucking boxes, dude. Can you tell the jury what the issues were on this case? The thing is remember, any of the testimony is evidence, right? So anything that she testifies to as to about this other case is evidence to be put before the jury. Even if the fucking binders don't go back, of course they're not going to go back, but they shouldn't have been up there in the first place. But now she's going to testify about it, unless they object.
What's the relevance?
There it is. Thank you.
Sustained.
Yeah, let's go.
Judge, may we
Shut
approach?
it down. Shut it down. Shut it down.
No.
Judge,
Oh my God, and her fucking smile, dude.
Judge, may we approach?
No.
Judge, we're entitled to make a record. I believe I have
Members
the,
of the jury, the bailiff will take you to the jury room.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So he's like, look, okay, now we need to hear this. We need to hear this. We need to hear this because Judge Everett's going to say what we're all thinking.
The relocation issues within this case are certainly relevant as to a separate other case. What is the argument that you're seeking to make for the record?
Your Honor, the relevance of this proceeding is the witnesses identified this as a hotly contested custody and relocation matter. I think we're entitled to have her explain what the issues were, what was involved in litigating that, as well as the amount of her fees that were incurred and the expenses that were incurred so that we can make the comparison to the case that
Yeah,
involved
it
Wendi
is.
Adelson and Mr. DeMarco.
Kappelman, any other argument on this issue?
It's relevant, Your Honor.
As to the point on relevance, the court's ruling remains the same. As to issues of relevance, again, the relocation that is disputed within this case as it relates to the divorce files certainly is an issue. As to any other case files, this witness may testify concerning her experience, but we're not going to go through this case file in its entirety. Please bring back in the jurors.
Your Honor, that was not my intent to go through the case file in its entirety.
For fuck's sake, though. Dude, really? Dude, I lost it then and I lose it again when he says that. Like, clearly, Judge Everett didn't actually think we were going to be here for the next 10,000 infinities going through that entire fucking case file. Don't, like, ugh.
Ms. Bailey, please step down, step out of the court or the courtroom doors.
We're out of there. Look at her standing over there with a binder.
Not make any comments, do not make any expressions in front of the jury in any
Okay.
way that would be intended to inappropriately influence them. The jurors using the restroom. Please use the restroom or stretch your legs if you need.
Okay, so that's where he's admonishing the gallery for laughing, although the witness chuckled as well, but whatever. She does what she wants, clearly. All right, we're getting close to the end here, and then we get cross. Doo-doo. Honestly, that might be the best. I'm gonna be able to just move on to cross.
Markel divorce compare across the variety of cases that you've handled.
Simply, it was routine, it was amicable.
Disgusting.
I've done similar cases that have had anything from 2-day to 7-day trials.
You already answered that.
I've
Dude,
had them range from 200,000 to
No
$500,000
question
in fees and
pending.
costs. I've had multiple financial
no
experts,
question
child
pending.
development experts, vocational
Oh.
experts, all retained, deposed.
You know what I mean? She's trying to, here's the other thing. It's like trying to exaggerate these other cases. I think because she's trying to be impressive. Notice her languaging there. I've had all these other cases. And they're this difficult. You know what I mean? It's like, I think her ego is a big part of her testimony here. Trying to make it seem like her job is so hard and so specialized. And like, jurors, no matter how you thought you saw a crazy divorce, you haven't seen nothing yet. So imagine how smart I must be. It's like that type of vibe. And it doesn't-
Testifying. I've had cases with multiple discovery issues, discovery
Even
oversight.
I've had. It's all about dude. I mean, I just feel like a broken record. But she could, not that this is relevant, but if she's going to say it, she could be saying it. There are cases.
Illegible records, financial records, third-party subpoenas, 2 full days of deposition of just one party. This was an easy case.
It's easy. It's easy. Yeah.
Did it look worse than it was because of the way in which Mr. Martell's pleadings were drafted?
Stop.
Yeah, I mean, he drafted pleadings, motions. I think responses would be more appropriate than pleadings, but that's kind of technical. He drafted
Right there. Because she's like this. Here's what she's thinking. Because she commented on this earlier. She's like, well, she's taking issue with him using the word pleading, because in her mind, she's like, well, he didn't really count as pleadings because they weren't correct in my view. And like, that's like, she doesn't need to say all this. And and she's fighting with him on the wording in the question. Like, this is just not, you don't have to dispute every single fucking thing. I mean, clearly she does not understand that. It's just
Worse than it was because of the way in which Mr. Martell's pleadings were drafted.
Yeah, I mean, he drafted pleadings, motions. I think responses would be more appropriate than pleadings, but that's kind of technical. He drafted them like he was drafting a law review article or something.
God forbid.
They weren't technically correct. They were verbose. They were hyperbolic.
Well, at least she found that word. Did she look that up over the break? I bet that's what she did. Did she go to a little thesaurus and she did a search for a very, very, very wordy, and Google was like verbose, and she's like, great, thanks, Google.
He used a lot of inflammatory language, but when you really looked closely at his requests of the court,
She must have also done the same thing for hyperbolic, because she used hyperbolic twice previously in her testimony. She also used very, very wordy twice. Like, that was her thing. She's very, very wordy and hyperbolic, and she said that together on 2 separate times. She must have also looked up another a synonym for hyperbolic and gotten a new word, inflammatory.
there was no there. There was no foundation for his.
There was no there.
Nothing further on.
Look,
Cross-examine.
yes, let's go. You all ready for this? Georgia. I've never loved her more. This is amazing. Out for blood is such an understatement. I adore this. This is my favorite thing.
What is it you were asked to do in this case?
I was asked to review the documents I was given and to opine about whether this was truly a highly contentious custody case, essentially.
And why would your opinion about whether it was a highly contentious custody case matter?
Literally the question that I think we were probably all thinking. That right? Thank you, Georgia.
Well, that's for somebody else to decide. I mean, I've done
Excellent answer right there.
2,000 cases, or give or take 100 on each side, and I think I have a pretty good judge of where this falls as far as contentiousness.
Sure, but you're somebody.
There she's contradicting herself. Her initial answer was correct. It's for somebody else to decide. The jury, they get to judge. They get to decide. But then she's like, oh shit, right? And then she has to go back and be like, wait, sorry, I'm the expert and no one can question me. That's paraphrasing of what just happened there.
That has vast experience with a ton of divorces, right?
Sure.
The parties only have experience with one divorce, right?
I don't know how many they have experience with.
So
but
isn't
sure.
the contentiousness in the eye of the beholder, in the sense that to you it might not seem like a big deal, but to the parties it might be the most important thing in the whole wide world. Do you
Well, that's
agree
one
with
reason-
that? Do you agree with that?
Ms. Kappelman, Ms. Bailey, wait for the question, wait for the answer.
The thing is like when it gets to the part here about the trash example, and she will not, this witness, Linda Bailey, will not concede the answer. It's like, you're done. I mean, you are already done, but it's like, at that point, it's like, clearly you would stop at nothing. Like Donna, right? Win at all costs. Win at all costs, right? That's this attorney. Her and Donna, same mindset. It's like this attorney I don't think there's anything she would do that would ever make her admit either that she was wrong or even just agree with something that's not even like substantial to anything relating to her. Like, it's not it's just craziness, you guys. I've seen it in this. Yeah. Okay.
Do not speak over each other.
Do you agree that a case as a lawyer might be routine, whereas to the parties, it's the most important thing in the world?
To some degree, that's one reason I called Kristin, is
Like this
Ms.
is common
Adamson,
sense.
in
Just
particular, of the lawyers in our community of the family law bar, is extremely measured and calm. And I find that when I litigate against her, we reach resolutions, that people stay measured and calm, and we get things done. She's not one of the other lawyers in town who may stir cases up or play on those emotions. So our job as lawyers is to explain to our clients when we get emotion. If I get something, for example, that, although I've never had something similar to what Mr. Markel would file,
yeah,
the
non-responsive.
immediate response is to call your client and go, I know you're going to read this at first glance, so it's going to seem messy. But there's no legal basis for this, so don't worry. And my understanding is that is
non-responsive.
what you communicated to Wendi.
And when you communicate these things to your
Speculation.
clients,
You're
hey,
good.
this is no big deal, this is no problem, this is a bunch of gibberish, do they always accept that?
Well, that's not the way I would present it, but
Do they ever get upset about the gibberish in the pleadings, the offensive materials in the pleadings, regardless of whether or not it's going to impact their chance of success in court? It can be emotionally charged, can it?
I would say annoying more than emotionally charged.
You would not say that divorce and child custody issues are emotionally charged?
They can be, but in this case, they weren't.
They weren't? How do you know?
From the pleadings, because I don't have
But
10,000
you're
pages in
not-
front of me.
You're not in the mind of the people whose lives are impacted by these pleadings. It's not just about pieces of paper and a binder, is it?
I don't think that's what I said.
People's lives are
It
impacted
is what
by
you
the
said.
decisions that go on
And
in
it's
court,
not
which for
even
you
a
are
viable
routine. Would you agree?
In this instance, they reached agreement on all issues, so they had complete control of what was coming out of the court.
Ma'am, could you please answer my question? Are people's lives impacted in drastic ways by routine matters that we see in court as lawyers?
People's lives change after divorce, certainly.
So like, I may think I've got a bag of stinky garbage, but the garbage man might not think it's stinky at all. Do you get the reference?
I don't.
What is no big deal to us is a big deal to these litigants, right? You can't agree with that.
Perhaps.
You can't agree with it. Strike the question.
Ugh.
You were asked, let me ask you this. Let's go on to something else.
Like, what? Like, it's not even. There's not even any benefit to her to be that stubborn, right? But you just on something so simple. It's common sense. It's like the only person on the planet that would not get that reference or say they don't get that reference. It's like it's her. Like literally, she stands alone there, and everyone knows it's bullshit. And it's like, why does she think that gives her the upper hand? It blows my mind. If you can't concede something so simple and so basic like that, like it's disgusting.
Have you ever had people get murdered or commit suicide based on the issues that are going on in your family law
I've never had
litigation?
anyone murdered. I had in one instance, a Middle Eastern person committed suicide just because there was a divorce, and that was shameful. So nothing was, it was literally the day after the petition was filed, and he had threatened, if you file, I'm going to kill myself, and indeed he did.
And to you, divorce is not shameful, is it?
To me, divorce is not shameful.
Divorce is not a basis to commit suicide, is it?
Not according to me, but I didn't grow up in Iran or wherever this
Point.
custom or feeling,
Exactly, Ms. Bailey. To
Right.
that person, it was a reason to commit suicide, right?
apparently so.
Aren't
So
these
offensive. Yeah.
issues
I know.
raised in these pleadings potential fuel to make people upset?
Potential fuel to possibly make people upset.
Yes, ma'am. For example, you were asked about what we've called the grandma motion. You say, oh, it's no big deal. It wouldn't be granted. It was buried in there. But the allegation is grandma is disparaging me to these kids, and I won't tolerate it, right? Couldn't that be upsetting to grandma?
You'd have to ask grandma. I don't,
Exactly.
Well done, Georgia.
it shouldn't have been. There was no proof,
No question
It
pending.
shouldn't have been in
Bitch.
your opinion.
Sorry.
in my opinion.
But in your opinion, divorce is no reason to commit suicide, right?
Yes. Wow. Whew.
Gibbers, according to the evidence in this case, means Jew in boots. It's not a flattering term by that definition or by your definition of someone that speaks gibberish. Can we agree it's not a flattering term?
Oh God, come
No,
on.
it's probably not flattering, but I've seen far, far worse.
Oh, for
You've seen
fuck's
worse.
sake.
I have.
Ugh. I could think of a lot worse things that I want to call her right now. Yeah.
If Mr. Markel wasn't paying by the deadline, isn't that something that would be potentially upsetting to the parties or their family members?
I don't know how upsetting $80,000 would be. I don't know.
$80,000 is a lot of money, isn't it, Ms. Bailey?
It depends on who you are.
Exactly. So we'd have to ask the parties, right? Right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I think on that issue, he clearly had the asset. So at the end of the day, he was going to pay. It was just a matter of jumping through hoops to get the money.
He was either going to pay, or he was going to get sanctioned by the court, or he was going to end up in jail, right?
I don't see any possibility he was going to end up in jail.
Okay. Well, you sat in the courtroom during Ms. Adamson's testimony,
I did.
didn't you?
I
And Ms.
did.
Adamson said that that was one alternative, an extreme alternative, obviously, but that's what contempt means, right?
But that
Ultimately.
Wouldn't even come into play until the motion for enforcement, and then he didn't abide by that, and then the judge asked him to do something else, and then he didn't abide by that.
Enforcement was Halloween.
I think jail was pretty far-fetched.
Well, as long as he pays. Ultimately, the teeth is you go to jail.
No, that's not true.
It's not true. Okay. Ms.
yeah.
Adamson was incorrect on that point, I guess.
Objection, Your Honor, to that question, to move to strike.
I'll rephrase it.
Was
Was
the objection again?
Say proper comment on that witness's testimony.
If this is not a legal objection,
Stay and please rephrase your question.
I said Ms.
Argumentative.
Adamson was
it's sad. Like why? This is basic. The objection he was looking for was objection argumentative.
incorrect on that point when she said jail was a potential option. Is that correct?
Well, I could break it down. There's two different matters in that financial motion on October 31st. One was the $70,000 still due to Wendi. Jail is not a possibility on that. But you don't send people to jail for failure to pay money. We don't do that. The $10,000 in fees to Kristin was more debatable because that could have been in the specter of support. And if you don't pay alimony or child support after repeated chances, I guess you could say, jail might be an option, but there's always a purge to that. So I've seen many times in child support, if you don't pay child support, then the judge says, bailiff, get, Mr. So-and-so or whatever. And then all of a sudden he comes up with money out of his pocket and he pays, he never goes to jail. So you always have the key to the jail when you owe support obligation. So technically, if he wanted to go to jail rather than pay Kristin the $10,000, eventually there may have been a hearing where that happened. I've seen one person in my career go to jail over child support.
Right, because they pay because they don't want to go to jail. If there was no jail and no consequences, they would never pay, right?
Some people wouldn't. And that's just support. There's no jail consequence to the $70,000 to Wendi. It was only the $10,000 to Kristin.
No.
That could have possibly remotely been a possibility.
Did you see evidence in this case of Wendi taking her mother's suggestions, cutting and pasting them into an email as her own, and then forwarding those questions to Ms. Adamson?
No, I didn't see any.
And did you see in your review of the evidence in this case, Ms. Adamson responding to those questions and Wendi then forwarding those answers to her mother?
I don't recall that. I don't recall seeing that.
Did you review the communications
Amazing.
from Donna Adelson, both in the form of email and text messages, that suggest that she was in fact extremely disappointed and upset about the outcome of the relocation motion?
I did. In probably the 5 days after the relocation, which was, say, 4 weeks before the ultimate settlement in July, there were a flurry of emails where she was obviously upset.
Did you review Mrs. Adelson's communications after July 31st that suggest she's consistently still upset about this?
I wasn't provided.
So you
And-
were,
Look at Donna's face. Yep, they didn't give it to her, dude.
I'm sorry, finish your answer. You weren't provided any?
I wasn't provided
Yeah.
after the flurry, right after the relocation, before the final judgment was entered in July of 2013. After July 2013, I don't recall seeing any emails from Ms.
You changed
Adelson.
your answer. She's like, I don't recall seeing them. No, you weren't provided them. That's the correct answer. Your initial answer was the correct answer. They didn't give them. The defense did not give them to you.
And Ms. Donna Adelson about relocation.
Did you see any emails from her at all post-settlement?
Not until maybe December. It was a while. October, maybe.
Okay.
Several months.
Yeah.
If Dan Markel had agreed to the relocation post-denial, post-stipulation, post, it could still happen, right? I mean, if he agrees, it could happen.
Sure, if he agreed, she could have relocated.
All right. And if he was murdered, it could happen, right?
Well, obviously.
Wild. Well, obviously. I mean, that answer though is proving this entire thing with the motive. If for like Wendi and for Donna, it's a certain type of person who, if they're trying to figure out how to relocate, right, with these kids, and the first obvious solution, if someone doesn't agree, is murder. Certain few people, it's like, oh yeah, I think she's one of them, and Donna and Wendi are the other two. And whenever we do watch the Wendi clip video that I put together like a few days ago, I noticed something crazy in that interview that goes right to that point that we'll talk about. Are you thinking about that answer, Linda? And are you thinking about that answer being really horrible in every way? Every way? Ugh. I mean, at least you didn't try to deny it. I'll give her that.
So you categorized.
Sorry, I ruined it. Georgia let that answer sit, and I talked over the pausing. The pausing there was intentional to let that sink in for the jury and for her to sit there and think about, like, so I just wanted to just put this, let's hear it in full context here.
It could happen, right?
Relocated.
All right. And if he was murdered, it could happen, right?
Well, obviously.
Let it sink in.
So you categorized Dan Markel's pleadings in a lot of different ways: baseless, untrue, unenforceable, gibberish, nonsense, suggestion of unethical filings on the part of his lawyer to sign off on them. Are you saying, I think what you're saying is that those things wouldn't amount to much in court because it's not really effective filings. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is his motions post July 31st were not based in the law. And I don't think that allegations about accounts he knew of not being on an early filed financial affidavit would amount to fraud. And it certainly wouldn't excuse him not paying what he was supposed to pay under the terms of the court order. And the motions related, the motion in March 26th related to parenting, he was trying to enforce things that weren't in the marital settlement agreement. There was no court order to make her do the things he wanted her to do. So there's no basis for the court to have granted his motion.
Right. So they weren't going to be successful. It's your opinion they weren't going to be successful.
Yes, that's my opinion.
But would you agree that the things he was putting in there are inflammatory?
I would agree that they were inflammatory.
And they potentially could make the parties or their relatives upset to read those pleadings and those inflammatory accusations.
Sure, nobody wants to read those allegations, true or not, about themselves in a public record.
You were shown a bunch of binders on a case. That case has nothing to do with this case, right?
No, it was a relocation case.
All right. And that case, was anybody murdered in that case?
No.
Okay. So if somebody had been murdered in that case, there might have been a lot less paper, right?
Here it is.
Case
Well,
would have been shorter if somebody gotten murdered, wouldn't it, Miss Bailey?
And this is the other one, right? So you had I mean, there's so many highlights for this cross, but you had the part with the trash, which is just not, she just won't agree to it. This is brilliant. This is brilliant. And the binders worked out in Georgia's favor here.
Those allegations, true or not, about themselves in a public record.
You were shown a bunch of binders on a case. That case has nothing to do with this case, right?
No, it was a relocation case.
All right. And that case, was anybody murdered in that case?
No.
Okay. So if somebody had been murdered in that case, there might have been a lot less paper, right? Case would have been shorter if somebody gotten murdered, wouldn't it, Miss Bailey?
If there wasn't a party, the case would have ended.
And if our case,
So it's a yes.
we hadn't had a murder, we might have a lot more paper in our case, wouldn't we?
No, because the divorce was over in July.
Oh my God.
There was
Divorce was over in July, but they kept filing papers, didn't they?
God.
Well, and the case was set for hearing March 15th. I mean, excuse me, May 15th, 2015. So the motion that Ms. Adamson filed in October and the motion that Mr. Markel filed in February, and then the motion he filed in March, were all set for hearing May 15th. And then Mr. Markel amped it up again, and on May 5th, he filed the motion that accused Kristin of fraud. So she had to withdraw, so they had to move that motion. So
Okay, this is incredible. Georgia nailed it with this. Listen to this answer. I don't even know what she's fucking talking about. We're going to just go back to the question, and we're going to hear this answer. This is incredible. Okay, if our case hadn't ended, we would have had more papers, right? It's basically what she-
Hadn't had a murder, we might have a lot more paper in our case, wouldn't we?
no, because the divorce was over in July.
Divorce was over in July, but they kept filing papers, didn't they?
Well, and the case was set
Divorce was over in July, but they kept filing papers, didn't they? All right, let's hear her answer.
for hearing March 15th, May 15th, 2014. So the motion that Ms. Adamson filed in October, and the motion that Mr. Markel filed in February, and then the motion he filed in March, were all set for hearing May 15th. And then Mr. Markel amped it up again, and on May 5th, he filed the motion that accused Kristin of fraud. So she had to withdraw, so they had to move that motion. So had that not been filed, they would have had a resolution on May 15th.
We don't know that. How do you know it was going to go on May 15th? Could have gotten continued for any zillion different reasons, couldn't it?
It was set for May 15th, and it was noticed for May 15th.
Set for May 15th, but at the time of Dan Markel's murder, litigation was still ongoing in this case.
Yep.
Yes? Yes. And even after that was resolved, there would be nothing stopping them from having a bunch of other time-sharing issues or whatever come up, and they might have ended up with reams of paper, right?
Objection calls for speculation.
Overruled, the witness has provided an opinion.
Yep,
State
well-
cross-examine.
I guess my response to that would be, I think it would have been to Wendy's benefit to proceed with those hearings, because nothing makes someone stop filing nonsense pleadings and motions
Nonsense.
better than having them ordered to pay the other side's attorney's fees. So had they gone to the hearing on May 15th, and had Wendi have been successful, he would have very likely had to pay Wendy's attorney's fees. And I really encourage my clients in these situations to take it to hearing.
Here.
So once the other side gets kind of slapped down, if you will, by the court and made to pay your fees, then they tend to back off.
So
So
that hadn't happened yet.
it had not happened yet.
And we'll never know when that was going to happen because we never got to that point, right?
Clearly,
Because he was murdered.
clearly.
May I have a moment to confer, Judge?
Go ahead.
We're done here. We're done here.
That's Unetti saying we're done here, just in case anyone couldn't hear it. It's kind of quiet.
We're done here.
Done. Yeah, so, but as far as Sarah Dugan running for judge, I first heard of that, and I wouldn't call it a rumor. I first heard of that. It was on, I think it was maybe the same STS show where they had Webster on, maybe, but it was like right after the verdict, and it was like Tim Jansen, and they had other attorneys. I can't remember because there's been so many of these. There's the whole Tallahassee attorney crew, right? Some of them were Dan's friends, but Tim Jansen, for example, like practices here, has been practicing defense attorney in Tallahassee for decades, right? And so, but there were like several people on the show that were, it wasn't like somebody asked a question. It was like they were just talking about something else, and that just was like part of it. I think they're probably talking about the timeline for indicting Wendi, and it came up. It was like, oh well, one of the reasons why it might need to be sooner rather than later is because Sarah's running for judge, and everyone's like, oh yeah, that's a good point. And like, in other words, it was enough people all just saying it like, oh yeah, that's a fact that we all were aware of, but we hadn't told the greater YouTube community that. I wouldn't take that as a rumor because those are people who are practicing with her, and like literally, even where I live or not live, but where I work in Forsyth County, right? Like, we were just talking about this the other day, like whoever in district court is, and let's see, we were doing like they were talking about the state court and also the federal court, like the attorneys that I work for, the attorneys that they know that are like running for judge, and it just came up. It's like it's not secret, right? They talk about it amongst themselves. It's not secret. It's just it's not something that usually people would be interested in. So it's just like common knowledge, though, if you're practicing in a jurisdiction. So I would take that as completely reliable. So yeah. It's one of the reasons why SPS is so awesome for this case because, you know, well, first of all, like they were like one of the OG people covering it, but you know, Joel knows the family, and it's like you can't get any closer to like literally, really the personal perspectives in a case, right? In terms of being just, and then you know, it's like they come on and talk about everything, and it's like, I don't know, they're there in trial and, you know, in the gallery, and it's like you got Dan Markel's friends and students and, you know, again, Tim Jansen's a huge resource. And, you know, I think he's going to have Georgia Kappelman on again when he can, and some of the other witnesses. Anyway, it's just, it's like the best sourced to me, like in terms of just getting straight, like the people who are actually living there, right? And like know what's going on firsthand. It's like, that's, if you're not one of those people, which, you know, the rest of the world isn't, it's just the best way to get like the legit boots on the ground, you know, information from people talking about it versus like, you know, social media or whatever. You know, I don't know. I guess that's what other people do. I don't know, because I don't ever use it. But speaking of which, did anyone notice, I forgot until just now, that troll that we had for a second there seems to have bounced pretty quickly. He lasted for all of like 20 seconds. You know, he's no Glenn, right? Because Glenn lasted for like 4 hours. Anyways, speaking of which, right, coming in saying that Harvey's been indicted, it's like, what did he say? It's going viral. Like, what? Weirdness. Weird.
Redirect examination.
Briefly, Your Honor.
Her demeanor is quite different now, though, isn't it, after that cross?
Ms. Bailey, you sat through Kristin Adamson's testimony earlier today, correct?
I did.
Did that in any way influence your testimony here this morning?
No, there was no new information.
Nothing further.
Well, that redirect, who came, that I'm sure the jury forgot about that cross exam after that brilliant redirect. And so then what happens after this? They go to lunch, and then I think for the rest of the day, oh no, there's another. Oh, that's right. We had Donna's former attorney. There were some interesting tidbits there. I forgot there were more witnesses. Oh, and right, and the victim's advocate who was in the interrogation room with Wendi. I forgot. We'll need to actually watch some of these. We're gonna have to do this for next time, though. I forgot there were a couple other witnesses, because the vast majority of the day after lunch is spent with Donna vacillating about taking the stand, which is also great. And we're gonna watch that, but we're gonna have to save this for next time. So on the next one, we will finish up here with day 8, and then day 9 is just closing arguments and the verdict. So we'll be able to get all that, and then maybe we'll go through some juror interviews, depending on what y'all want to do. And we'll go through the Wendi video that I had, and then we'll get to the filings here. Again, Donna's just recently filed motion for a new trial. LOL, dream big. I mean, I understand it's obviously par for the course. You got to do it. You got to do it within 10 days in Florida. It's fine. But to come in there accusing the jury, though, is a bit much. But yeah, and hopefully, I think we might be able to do our next stream here tomorrow. Hopefully my voice will hold up, because for anyone who missed it, I've been sick. That's why there was a bit of time since the last stream. And so I just got to be careful. But were any of y'all here? I think you were here, Kitsmits, when I had laryngitis. I think that was at the beginning of last year. That was so insane. Anywho, but yeah, Glenn did have stamina. Yep. Hellman's demeanor is utterly defeated there. Yeah, 100%. So yeah. All right, guys, that'll be it for this one, though. I mean, just, oh, hold on. Sorry, I jumped the gun. I wanted to do one thing real quick before we go. I wanted to go back to the beginning of her testimony and see if he asks her the question about how many times he's testified as an expert, because I don't remember. And I was thinking about this, and I was like, you know, I wonder if I mean, she doesn't testify as an expert. So I just wanted to check this real quick and see if he asks her this question and if she, and what it is. Because that would explain a lot. Okay, right. Education, right. How many trials? Great. Certifications. You don't have to listen to it because she's so, we can just look at the subtitles and that works out. How she got all her shit, her exam, whatever. Okay. Then he asks her to spell her name at that point. That's so awkward. Board certified, right? Okay. What do lawyers do to recertify? Great. Questionnaire. More about board certification. Super lawyer. Oh yeah, that pro bono thing was a weird one. Okay. I don't think he asks her the question. Because my thought, right, was she's never testified as an expert witness before, and that would make sense.
Plans, parenting schedules, relocation, those sorts of parenting related issues.
Your Honor, we would tender the witness as an expert in family law proceedings.
The state wished to provide the witness as to their training or experience.
No, Your Honor.
In objection to her ability to provide an opinion in the fields of marital family law.
No, Your Honor.
Members of the jury, the witness will be permitted to provide an opinion while she testifies in the areas of marital and family law.
Thank you, Your Honor. In conjunction with your being retained as an expert in this case, can you tell the jury what materials you reviewed?
Yes.
Yeah. So the questions does not get asked. So I think there you go. Normally if somebody's testified as an expert before they ask that question, well, normally it's asked anyway. But if you've got somebody who you're tendering as an expert that has never done it before, you would probably not ask that question because it doesn't sound very good. Normally it's like if we're watching a trial and somebody gets up there and they're like, yeah, I've testified as an expert 3 times. It's like, okay, because a lot of times we hear these experts and it's like hundreds of times, right? So anyway, if you think about it that way, it's like somebody who's testified 0 times as an expert, the state didn't object, right? They don't want to voir dire her, so they're fine with it, for obvious reasons. So however many times she's testified as an expert doesn't matter if the state doesn't object. The only other way it would matter is if the jury hears about it and how much weight they give that. But if the jury doesn't hear about it, then it doesn't come in. So I think she's not testified as an expert before. I think she considers herself to be an expert, but I don't think she's ever testified as an expert before. And yeah, that would make sense, wouldn't it, given what we've seen? All right, that was the last thing I wanted to do. Glad I remembered to do that. And with that, I love you guys. Thanks for being awesome squirrels. Y'all are the best. And we will all be together here soon. But until next time, squirrel up.
My primary source